Sega Dudes, have you heard about this crazy thing called the MiSTer FPGA thing? It makes it so you can play all kinds of different consoles from one device once you figure out how to put it together and update it and install everything and get all the bells and whistles and hootenannies. At least that's what I hear.
It's an amazing system.
Says the little man in the box. But do that properly, you can play well, I guess it's actually thousands of retro or classic games, and very low emulation, but very low lag. I don't know a ton about it, but we've got a couple guests with us. I know Sayan has one, but we've got a couple guests that are going to help us talk about it and about what it is and why it's cool and what you got to do to get one together. So
yes, exactly.
You know, bring on Drake, unless there's something else you want to say, Sayan.
No, I think we should jump right into this.
All right,
let's go.
Here comes Drake. And here's Drake.
Hello.
The Master.
Yeah. Sayan called me that, and I just thought it was fun.
He is. I mean,
it's appropriate for tonight because Drake, and actually feel free to, if you have a link for all of the videos that you've made, if you have a playlist.
Yeah, I do have a playlist.
Okay. Get that to me afterwards, and we'll add it into the description for this episode, if you want.
Sure.
All right. But tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name's Drake. I have a YouTube channel at Drake Tungsten 74. You know, YouTube, and we'll get you the link later. And I got the MiSTer in like 2019, 2020, something like that.
It came out then?
No, it was out before that, actually.
Oh wow! I didn't even know that. Okay.
Yeah, it's a hobby project, so it's it doesn't have like a release date. It's just, I mean, it does, I guess, but it doesn't have like an official marketing. We're coming out on this Tuesday kind of thing.
You mean like always in QA, never in production?
Basically, yeah. So because it's a hobbyist thing, you buy the parts, you assemble it yourself, etc., etc. But I got into it because of Game Boy Guru. So
I get into it because of you.
Good segue for our next guest, Game Boy Guru. Come on down to the MiSTer is right or something.
But thank you.
Give us a quick little introduction about yourself.
Sure. I'm Game Boy Guru. You can find me on Twitch and YouTube. Just I'm on Twitch as Guru Game Boy because Game Boy Guru wouldn't let me do it. And then Game Boy Guru on YouTube. I host the Shoot the Core Cast podcast, all about shoot 'em ups, and I just like to game.
And likes the pew 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 pew.
Yes.
Pew, pew.
Yes.
Big into the pew pews.
All right, and we're just gonna jump in. So this should be an open question. So, like, if somebody asks, "What is a MiSTer? What is the MiSTer? Like, what would y'all's Reader's Digest version be? Just like 1 or 2 sentences."
You want to take that one, Guru?
Yeah, I mean, MiSTer is basically an open source project that allows for FPGA hardware, which we can get into, to be reprogrammed in such a way so that that hardware can simulate other hardware, and that allows for all sorts of applications. FPGA devices are used in a lot of automation and working with microcontrollers and things like that. And a lot of FPGA boards nowadays are powerful enough that they can simulate older computer and video game hardware. And so that was really the genesis of the project.
Yep.
Not to put a Sega note or anything in it, but Genesis.
Nah.
Got to work in a Sega thing. Eventually.
I could show you some Genesis if you want.
we'll see if we get there.
Yeah.
So, did you want to add anything to that, Drake, or saying?
No, he's right. I don't need to add anything.
Okay, of course he's right. He's the guru.
Yeah, that's why I deferred to him because I knew he'd say that one better.
Yes, Guru.
He's a little more glib than I am,
Shmup Master. I mean, he goes by many names. So, Mr. 1cc. So yeah, I mean, it's
Well, let's try to keep it to names that he'll answer to and be nice.
Yes, please.
So we talked about, you mentioned the FPGA, the field programmable gate arrays.
Yeah.
That is to make it so that it is closer, and with every update, the cores, which is what you use for the emulation, get closer and closer to actual running like the original hardware. Because you program the chip dependent upon the core to run instructions like, as we said, the Genesis, like an original Genesis would run it.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of emulating the hardware, it's hardware emulation.
Yeah, basically that's right.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I was going to say it's more like hardware simulation. It's emulation in a sense, but essentially the FPGA, you write the code in such a way so that it simulates the functionality of the original hardware components. Things like the 6502 CPU that was in the NES, or the PPU, the picture processing unit in the NES, the Zilog Z80 processor that was in the Master System, things like that. And so the idea is the core contains the code that instructs the FPGA on how to simulate that hardware. And then assuming the core is written well, then that simulation can be extremely accurate.
Yeah, you're basically reproducing, well, what's like when you make a chip, you use a die, they call it the die, you're basically reproducing that, which has all the logic gates and things on it. That's why it's called FPGA, which are various logic like ands and ors and nors, and we don't have to get into what they all are, but it's all the programming that goes into making a chip, and you just reprogram it to be that chip. So if you have an accurate map of the original chip, you can then, make an accurate reproduction of it.
basically repurposing the chips on the board for whatever core that you're going to be using.
Yeah, well, it's one particular chip. It's the Cyclone 5, but yeah, in the MiSTer that's the particular one that it is.
And so, like Guru, you mentioned it, like it's a way of making it often called hardware accurate, or just
cycle accurate. I think it's
cycle accurate.
Yeah, cycle accurate is the term that is often thrown around in MiSTer circles and FPGA circles, essentially, so that if you're looking to program the FPGA to simulate a particular type of hardware, then the idea is to try and make that hardware perform as close to the original hardware in question as you can. And like I say, if the core is programmed well and you have good information on the die, as Drake mentioned, then you can really get that core to the point where everything runs at the exact speed it needs to, and with the exact cadence of processing and all of that.
Now here's something. The MiSTer, it has an IOP board, is that correct? I think, does it have an IOP board?
IOP? I'm not familiar with that.
Probably associating with that with work, but okay. So the MiSTer that I have, I'll pull mine out. So this is basically the MiSTer that I have with the fan,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
and they normally come, because mine was I bought mine pre-built like this. I didn't build mine at all.
Yeah.
So what are the boards inside the
I think
MiSTer
we're getting a little bit too far ahead because I think we need
with
to.
that?
We'll get down to that later. So keep that
Okay.
keep that handy.
Let me look that
But
up.
going back to the cycle accurate, we're all gamers here. For someone who doesn't know about cycles and like CPU speeds or whatever, who just games, why does it matter? Why does it matter that it's cycle accurate, that it replicates or I like the way what you put it, Groove, simulates. Why is it important that it simulates as close to possible the original hardware?
Well, for a number of reasons. I mean, number one, you want the experience to be accurate because then, you can seamlessly move back and forth between FPGA and the genuine article, so to speak, and have the experience be relatively the same. Number two, as the years go on and the original hardware dies and we reach a point where there's very little working hardware left, and especially, as we get 30, 40, 50 years down the line, FPGA technology is going to still be with us. And so if this is potentially the most accurate way that we can get these things to work, then preservation of some of this old technology is going to be far easier with FPGA. And also, for those who are interested in competitive gaming as well, most of the time when you go to, when you have people streaming on something like GDQ or people who do speed runs in general, they like to use original hardware because that is the way that it works. And in order to use original hardware in a modern context, if you don't have a CRT television, then you're talking about buying scalers or devices to upscale, and then everything in the chain that connects between the console and the display has the potential to add some kind of latency or lag. And so with a MiSTer, if you can get cycle accurate simulation or emulation, and then you can connect directly between that and whatever your display is or your capture, and a capture then has its own output that should virtually add no lag because it's just a pass through, then you can get the kind of accuracy that you want. Think of something like Punch-Out, for example. People who play Punch-Out competitively, they play on CRT because the timing, that game is all about timing. And so if you tried to play Punch-Out, even though it's available in other forms, you try to play Punch-Out on Nintendo Switch Online or the NES Mini or something like that, there's going to be input delay. Whereas with the MiSTer, you're going to be able to play that pretty much one-to-one with an original NES hooked up RF or composite to a CRT.
And you were talking about speedrunners. If anyone has played a game for any great length of time, like you play a lot of shooters, Sam plays a lot of shooters, you start to get muscle memory. And that is when you really start to see when you play something else. Like you're like, okay, the timing is off, whatever, because you develop that muscle memory that when you're supposed to hit, whatever button, whatever direction. And if it doesn't line up properly, something that comes to mind was the AtGames consoles that they put out for the Genesis. I remember I got one of those for Christmas, and even without the audio, plugged it in, turned it on. I was like, this isn't right. Playing Sonic. I was like, this isn't right. And it was one of the few times I was like, I've been like, this is really bad. Like, this needs to be returned. And I know my wife and daughter were super happy to get it for me. And I tried, but it was so off and it was so bad. I was like, we'll go get something else for me. I'm sorry, but the thought was there, and I really
Mhm.
appreciated it. But like, this was really painful to even try to use. So we didn't hold on to that.
Yeah, I heard that those were pretty bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have experience with At Games Genesis console at a friend's house years ago, and he plugged in Sonic 2, and it was bad, as you said. The sound issues, it's just really terrible. And so that's why something like FPGA technology and the MiSTer in specific is such a great advancement, because it gives you the ability to have that more at your fingertips on a TV, so that you can play it in that context like you would have on real hardware years ago, versus, well, I got to hook up a PC and then get an emulator or something like that. It's just a much easier way to have an accurate experience.
Yep.
For the module, when I said IOP, I was thinking of the RAM module, because that work on the stuff that we use for the buses is called IOP.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
that's I looked it up, and then so it has a RAM module, and it says it has 128 megabyte RAM module that allows pretty much every core, including it says including Neo Geo. So
I have 2 of those in mine.
So you can stack them.
There are 2 spots where you can put them. But and I don't know if they've updated it lately, but I know the original or one of the earlier versions of the IO board, the analog IO board, blocks the port, so you can only put 1 stick of RAM in there. There so far right now, currently there's only 1 system that you need the second stick of RAM with, and you don't absolutely need it, but it's the Atari Jaguar. Atari Jaguar there's a dual RAM core, and that works. It works a little bit better. I have a video on it if you want to go look. And you can see there is a difference in the speed. It's a little bit better with the 2, but it's still playable with the 1.
Okay. So with all that being said, you 3 have a MiSTer. I do not. And Melissa was saying a little bit earlier, I was like, all right, so you guys can try to sell me on a MiSTer tonight. I had thought about picking one up now and then over the last several years. But so who is the MiSTer for? I've got dozens of consoles and hundreds of games across all of them. And is it worth it to ditch the dozen systems that I have sitting over here? I've got hooked up with Sam was talking about, you can ditch all the wires. I've got power for all of them. I got the AV cables running over to switchers, and the switchers running all the way over into the my capture card, so I can stream and capture video through that. So I already own all the original hardware. I could also, obviously, emulation goes back a long way on PC. So with PCs, it's like, okay, what is the point of having a MiSTer if I have a PC? And all right, sell me on it.
So I mean, the MiSTer, it's you have all your wires, and just to basically springboard off of what Game Boy was talking about, preservation of the systems and everything. So you can take the SG-1000, because I know you love that, and the Master System and everything. You could take those systems offline. You can clean those systems out. You can put them in their original boxes or put them on a shelf or something like that, and understand that you have them and you're preserving them. And, that to me is more of like an historical preservation when it comes to video games. But your MiSTer can sit there, and your MiSTer could take the heat off of those systems that you're playing on, because in reality, how old is the SG-1000 and the Master System? They're going to burn out eventually, and you're not going to be able to recap them or do whatever that you normally do all the time. So the MiSTer takes the ease off of that, and you could preserve the systems. Plug in the systems once a year, play them, whatever it is like that, and then go from there. And plus, it's a really big space saver as well.
Saves wear and tear.
Yeah, does a lot.
What about you, Guru? You might be a better you might be able
Yeah.
to present a better case for this. Well, both of you, because you guys collect more than I do.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in a similar boat to what you are, Oaz, where I've got, you can't see it in my setup here, but the direction I'm pointing, I've got a wire rack full of consoles and my streaming computer and battery backup and all of this stuff. And my setup is kind of insane, where I've got as many of my older analog consoles as possible, all using component output, because I've invested in the retro RGB, or what is it, HD Retrovision cables.
Okay.
And I've got all of those piped into a component switch, which has dual output. And that way I can output to both my RetroTank scaler, and I've got a long cable that then snakes down on the floor to a CRT that sits in front of me. And that way, when I'm playing and streaming old consoles or old games, I can do that on the CRT, so I can still experience it in the original context while still then streaming or capturing footage. But the thing is, I don't own every console, and the MiSTer also has cores for a bunch of old computers. It also has cores for a ton of arcade games. And so there's a lot of gaming that you can play on the MiSTer that, unless you have the bank account of a Saudi oil magnate, you're probably not going to own everything. And so realistically, it's a great way to try out and experience a lot of hardware that you may not have ever been able to, or specifically, like in our case, Drake has done a lot of stuff with checking out and demonstrating some of the MiSTer cores for a lot of the European microcomputers, things like the ZX Spectrum, the Amstrad CPC. I have a little bit of experience with a Commodore 64 as a kid, because one of the neighbor kids had one.
Me too.
But I never saw an Amiga as a kid.
Yep.
And so, without those experiences, there's a ton of stuff that you can have access to through the MiSTer ecosystem that you otherwise might not ever have a chance to experience. And so while you can't necessarily experience it in its original context, at least with the accuracy of the simulation that MiSTer can do, again, assuming the core is well written, you can get a pretty good sense of what System X was capable of doing, and experience those games and things as close to having the original hardware as possible without having to actually own the hardware. And so it's really, it's a good opportunity to explore a lot of stuff that you might otherwise not be familiar with.
I mean, like, I went and I had that setup, Guru, when I was at my old place, and I thought about how can I condense this and stuff. So I went the way of SCART, because I had my friend from work talk me into all the SCART cables. I imported everything in from the UK, the SCART changers over here. But I have like, let's say, only a handful of systems, which is like the Neo Geo, the CDZ, the Neo Geo CDZ, the Super Nintendo. I have the Sega Genesis Tower of Power and stuff. But in reality, I feel like, and I've played shooters on PC Engine, then on the analog, and then on the MiSTer, and I've enjoyed playing them on the MiSTer. And normally, with the big thing about the MiSTer 2 OAS is that with the way game prices are going, and let's say you do want to collect, you do want to experience other systems, not PlayStation, because I know you hate PlayStation, but it's a good way to branch out and say, wow, like I really love the SG-1000. I would love to play these games, but they're all in Japanese. Let me find localization patches for the ROMs and let me load those ROMs onto the MiSTer. You can get a dongle where you can plug your original controllers into that dongle and then plug that into the MiSTer. I have that, and it feels like you are playing on the original systems. And just like exactly what Guru said is that you still have your old systems like hooked up if you have the space and you want to, experience them and play them and everything like that. But these systems are going to break over time, and the MiSTer is very durable. The longevity of the MiSTer and the boards and everything, you can, if a board breaks, you can go out and replace the MiSTer board, and it's not like where you're crippled. If your Master System breaks the board and you need to get that fixed, there's really not going to be many people around that are going to fix a Master System board. That's what scares me about owning a Vectrex and I only play it once a year, because I am deathly afraid of that tube blowing out in the Vectrex. And if that tube blows out, I am done. That's it. It's like I can't play it anymore. So the MiSTer has the Vectrex, and I'm like, wow, I could play the Vectrex on the MiSTer, and I won't have to experience the wear and tear on that Vectrex that I have.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm going to talk about a couple of other reasons why I got the MiSTer, besides just keeping up with Guru Game Boy. One of the, I got it because I heard, the latency or whatever. I never was bothered by latency, but I was having some issues playing Punch Out, on the NES Mini, right? And I was just like, it just doesn't feel right. And I was playing, I think on the Raspberry Pi too, or something like that. It just didn't feel right. And I had played it actually on the 3DS, and so that's where I got used to it at. But so I got that, and it just felt right. I can't explain it. It's a feel thing. I don't have numbers to measure it or whatever, but it felt right. Could be psychosomatic or whatever, but it felt right to me, and so I like it because of that. And I was skeptical. I was like, it can't be that good, but I was like, I'll try it, and I did, and I experimented, and I got it. But there were a couple other reasons why I was really into the MiSTer, because the MiSTer, it actually came from the MI from Amiga and the ST from Atari ST. And I'm a big Amiga fan. A friend of mine, back when I was in high school, had an Amiga 500, and I ended up getting an Amiga 2000 HD, which I still have. And I feel that same sort of fear that Saiyan has. It's like, I'm afraid this thing's going to break if I look at it wrong. So I want to use the MiSTer because it's, hopefully it will last longer, I guess. And I can use it, and I can play Amiga games I've been interested in the Amiga emulation and such for a long time. So the MiSTer was really satisfying to get the MiSTer for that. And then the third thing is I can explore, like Imba Guru was saying, I can explore the other systems that I never played before. And for some reason, somehow I got into the ZX Spectrum, and I started messing around with it on the MiSTer because I could do it. And when there was a new shmup game of the month, I was like, well, let me see if there's a ZX Spectrum or some other system or some other thing. And that was my excuse to learn a new thing, because that's how I learned. When you did Viewpoint, I learned how to install the Neo Geo and get the Neo Geo working, and that was a little bit different. On the MiSTer, it was tricky because Neo Geo is that quasi, like, it's got it's a home system, but it's also an arcade system. So it's confusing as to where the ROMs are, because the different formats and things like that. So it just became what's another thing that the MiSTer can do. And then you guys were asking me for you could make a video for setting this up and how to set it up and do those things. And so I did, and now I want to explore every single system. And so that's the system exploration part.
So I don't think I'm sold, but
well, okay.
But so the thing is, right now, I don't feel like I have a need for it.
Well, maybe you don't.
And because I've got all my original systems, I can play on those if I want. If there's something else I want to try, I can emulate it on the PC. For stuff that I have never played before, cycle accurate isn't really going to matter much to me because I don't know how it runs on those systems anyways. And it's just like right now, it's just like, okay, that's something I can look into in the future if I need or want to.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not, a diss on the MiSTer or anything.
Right.
It's just like right now where I'm at, and I don't have a ton of time to play, so I wouldn't have a ton of time to play around with the system, and setting it up and all that other stuff. But I can see where it would be a benefit to have it in the collection, especially as like Guru and Sane was telling me earlier. It's like, and we all know these systems are going to die. It's not if, it's when. And the same thing goes with all of our physical games. The physical games, the cartridges are going to die. They're not made to last forever. They weren't made to last forever. And I'm pretty sure that if Sega and Nintendo and Atari, if they knew how long these things were going to last and how much interest there was going to be in them later on, they would have fixed it so they would not have lasted that long.
Right.
This long.
True.
I saw something recently that you can expect PlayStation 4 and 5 discs to last anywhere from 10 to 20 years with good management and environmental control of the discs. So those ones have a baked in death date. And so the preservation part, we've got the ROMs and the ISOs. We get those backed up, and and I was saying, if I was to get a MiSTer and I start boxing up my systems, that's when I would start selling my systems. Because like if you're going to box up your systems, then what's the point in having them if you're not going to actually use them? Because I'm at the stage, saying, and we're collectors, and Drake, you might be able to relate to this, but like I'm trying to get out of the mindset. Like I'm not a collector of games anymore. I'm not. I'm a gamer who has games that they're going to play. So any game I pick up, I want to play it.
Yeah.
But I still want the original hardware. I still want to have the original cart or disc. So you get that thing and you take it off the shelf and you put it in the system and you turn that on and you have it hooked up through all the wires and everything else. Because for now, that is the feeling I want.
Yes.
That's the feeling I like. And it's just what appeals to me at this time. I am, I would say in the early days of emulation with, what was it, Nesticle and SNES 9X or something.
Yeah.
I spent a ton of time playing games on those. And for a big part of those times, like that's how I gamed, was just using those emulators. And so I'm not opposed to emulation, and this isn't exactly emulation. But once I got back into collecting and buying the systems and buying the old games, like there's something different, and there's nothing that can replicate what the original system can do 100% because of that feel of having the original controller and having the cart plugged in. It's one of those things that, like you were saying earlier, like you couldn't quantify, like something wasn't right with Mike Tyson's Punch Out.
Right.
See, my friend Gabe is a minimalist, and he has like the systems, the Genesis and everything. And like I said before, he got me into SCART, and he has the MiSTer. But like what Guru said, the reason why my friend Gabe has the MiSTer is because of the old computer systems that are available on it, the Vectrex, and the arcade games. And I mean, it's a difference playing Battle Garega on Saturn than it is to play it on the arcade. And a lot of those games are really, unless, and I looked into this week, unless you are going to get the Capcom, I think it's like CSP or something to A and B for the boards, right? And then part everything out into a transformer to plug it into your house, and then part everything out with breakout boards for the controller, which is a gun module or something they call it. It is insane the amount of work you need to do to bring those Capcom specific arcade boards home and hook them up. And it's easier to do it on the MiSTer than it is to hook these things up like in your house. I mean,
Well, and that's a good point, because the super gun, I think, is what you were probably trying to say.
that's it. The super gun. Yes.
Yeah, super gun is just kind of a generic term for essentially a piece of hardware that will allow you to hook up an arcade board and then provide a controller interface and then outputs to output to a display. And so something like the Haas super gun, for example, is a popular one. But the thing about the super gun is it's only going to be relevant for boards that utilize the JAMA standard.
Right.
MiSTer
Yeah.
has a lot of arcade cores that are pre-JAMA standard. Things like Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, Dig Dug, all of that. Those all used custom interfaces. And so there's not really a good way to hook those things up to a standard display without all of the breakout boards, like you said. Same thing with some of the more modern stuff that uses the JVS standard instead of JAMA. And so anything like that, which can be done on the MiSTer, simplifies that greatly. Since this is the Sega Dudes podcast, I was looking around at some of the Sega arcade cores that are on MiSTer, and there's a lot. I mean, everything from Altered Beast and Golden Axe to something more obscure like Astro Flash or R-Rail, which is a little bit much more rare, overhead run and gun type of game. And some of this stuff was never made its way to North America. And so some of these games, unless you were in a boutique arcade of some kind, or a collector, chances are some of these games you will never have heard of or seen unless you have gone through the archives of the MAME emulator, for example, and just sort of randomly gone and looked through the ROM list. And so the MiSTer technology is a great way to experience a lot of those games in a way that is quite accurate. And me for myself, I being a shmup guy, I play a lot of these games with arcade stick. And so this stick is actually wired directly to my MiSTer right now. And it allows me to then play and experience that stuff as closely as I can at home to replicating that arcade experience. And so for me, that's a compelling reason to have MiSTer, because the accuracy of it will be similar to MAME in a lot of respects, at least for arcade cores that are fully baked, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
That, I think, if I really wanted to play a lot of arcade stuff, that I could see that it would be a huge benefit just for that.
Yeah.
Because I don't have an arcade machine. It'd be great to own an arcade machine, but I don't know where I would put an arcade machine. So for that, it's not a system that I own, but they're systems that I've played. And so being able to go back and play something like Captain America and the Avengers and do that in an arcade style.
Right.
So that would be a big boon for me to get one. Especially if then I could, get plans and make like a mini arcade system and set it up and have it set up to handle 4 players. Because then download a bunch of arcade games and cores for that. So which actually brings up the next 2 topics. I want to kind of bring those in together. We kind of already touched on it. The cores, what are cores, and then what can the MiSTer play? I mean, obviously, you guys have named off a bunch of systems, and so I don't know if it would be easier just like it's it can run all of these consoles and all of these handhelds and all of these arcade machines.
I mean, I could give you a couple links. There's I think I can't remember where I put it. There's actually a site that has a list of all the cores that are on the MiSTer, and it's tried to be a complete database. It's not just the official ones. It's like other ones that are other collections, like the CoinOp collection and the Hotego cores. Not just the quote unquote official MiSTer ones, the MiSTer project ones, shall we say. And there's also a list on the MiSTer project that shows you all the ones that are in the MiSTer project as well.
Yeah. To be succinct, I would say from a console standpoint, most every gaming console from the Atari Jaguar down. And so we're talking Jaguar, then go down to PlayStation and Saturn, then to kind of the pre-PlayStation Saturn stuff like the 3DO. Drake, you might know the Amiga CD32. I don't remember if that's supported yet. Okay.
It is.
Wow.
And then, 16-bit, 8-bit, and then early 8-bit stuff like the Atari VCS and the ColecoVision, the Intellivision, the Fairchild Channel F, the Odyssey 2. A lot of these older systems are supported, as well as some, early like Pong clone stuff and stuff like that. And then in the computer world, I think almost every 8 and 16-bit microcomputer is supported in some fashion. Most of them. There's still a few obscurities that aren't, but most everything that you could
kind of needs some work.
True. But I mean, most every 8 or 16-bit computer has a core either in development or available in the main distribution, and then there's like cores that will allow you to simulate Intel 386 and 486 environments, so you can run DOS, maybe even early versions of Windows and things like that. And so there's a lot you can do with this hardware from that standpoint. Plus arcade games, from some of the earliest stuff up to, I would say, some mid to late 90s arcade games that are supported. Sayan already mentioned Battle Garega, that's on there. And, there's other stuff like that from kind of that mid to late 90s period that is available. Drake, you were just talking about the Mortal Kombat core yesterday.
Yeah, that's a new one. I got it working. I got it working, I think, yesterday. And that was really cool. That's one I like, and I'm just so glad. And
what is that Mortal Kombat core?
Mortal Kombat.
Just the arcade Mortal Kombat?
Yeah, the arcade Mortal Kombat.
Wow.
Actually 1 through 3, but yeah, all 3 of them. It's Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, and then it's Mortal Kombat 2 and Mortal Kombat 1 that you can play right now on this system. I've got them installed. And thinking of that, I was thinking, well, now I kind of have reason to get one of those joysticks like Game Boy was showing off.
I mean, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. Because that's a game I would use it on, But yeah, it's it's cool. One of the other things about the MiSTer that I like, it's really, really fascinating, is like in some systems, so like Commodore 64, they had two different kinds of SID chips that they used. Okay, so you can pick which one you want to use, because some games supported one chip, some games supported the other, and some stuff does not work on the wrong chip. So you could just flip it. Like, how would you do that with original hardware? You can get two chips and solder them into a thing and have a little switch where you can switch them. But it's a lot easier on the MiSTer. You just go into the menu and select it. You can do the same thing with the Genesis, because there's like 3 models of Genesis and they had different audio chips.
Yep, I was just going to say that.
Yeah, and there are other ones that have different versions of firmware, like the ZX Spectrum has a few different models, and I ran into an issue with that with a program I was doing, and it didn't work because I didn't have it set to the right firmware. It was using like the original firmware and not like the revision that fixed that bug or something, But I actually rewrote the program to work around it because it was one of those type-ins. But it was pretty cool. And then I figured out, I was like, oh, I could have just hit this button and used this other chip, this other firmware. But yeah, that's one of the other neat things that it can do.
So I guess you could say for consoles and arcades and basically gaming from the beginning up through the mid to late 90s.
Yeah.
What it can handle right now.
Yep.
And so you're talking about the Mortal Kombat core. This is just the core is just what tells the chip what it needs to do to act like, or run the instructions like the arcade machine or the consoles would run it.
Yeah, the core is the instructions to the FPGA chip and how to arrange itself. It to be like whatever hardware that it is. It's not the ROM chips, which is the code, which is the game code, right? It's the hardware code. So you program it into a Motorola 68,000 CPU for several of the arcade games. For the Genesis has one of those. The Sharp X68000 has one. The Amiga has one. The Atari ST has one. So that what they have is that chip is they've written a pretty good I don't know, I'm not gonna. It's basically cycle accurate, right? It's really, really good. I'm not an expert, so I'm not gonna, don't quote me, so to speak, on that. But it's the and they reuse that, right? They can reuse that programming in every single one of those cores that does other chips that are on the chipset, because like Amiga, it has that same CPU, but it has different graphics, chips and things like that. It's got, what is it, like the Paula or whatever? Is it Paula? I forget. But it has those names. It has, those name chips and stuff like that. So,
so
more than just that.
Who makes the cores? Who works on the cores? How do you get a core? How do you know which core to use? What if you don't like apples? Nobody got the joke.
Computer or just in general? Apple core. Apple core. I get it. Well, because there is an Apple 1 core, an Apple 2 core, and an Apple Lisa core. so I thought you were going for the computers at first there, but you're going Apple core. Yes.
Yeah. Baltimore. Who's your friend?
Who's your friend?
I mean, I could tell you this when I was on the MiSTer, because Drake got it, then Drake started telling me about it, and then I'm like, oh wow, the MiSTer sounds amazing, so I got it because of Drake. Drake got it to keep up with Guru, so I mean, really, it was Guru that inspired the both of us to get the MiSTer, like the domino effect. But when I was playing the MiSTer,
keeping up with the Guru, not keeping up with the
yeah, it actually kind of was, yeah.
I went to Drake and I was like, listen, I need your help with this, and Drake was excellent. It was fairly easy. MiSTer to set everything up. Now with the cores, it's a little, for me, it's a little pain to switch from a core to another core. Like if I'm playing PlayStation and I want to go to what is it? Saturn, you have to back out, then you have to load the Saturn core. The one pain point for me is the ROMs that are associated with the cores and if they're going to work or not. I normally do not. I'm not very good at fishing for ROMs, so I normally get bad ROMs. I put them on. The MiSTer doesn't like the ROM that I have, and it just rejects it or won't play it. I've tried Saturn, and you have to change the region when you select the core. So for Saturn, you have Japanese, you have
I don't.
USA, and then you have Europe. If you want to play that game with Tim Curry, the Frankenstein monster, that's something Frankenstein. That's PAL, I believe. So
Mine
you have
auto
three
selects.
different. What's that?
Mine auto selects.
See that I didn't know how to set up the auto select. I didn't even know it could do that. To be honest,
There's an
with you.
option. I think there's an option in the thing. I'm not sure which. Trying to remember when they added that because it would have been. I think they added that before it went into the update all because I was playing around with the beta core version of it.
Is it in the core? Is it in the core itself?
Yeah.
Like
It's in the OSD, the on-screen display. And you go in there and it's like region and I think it's like auto.
Okay. I never tried that before. And then I got to try that when we get off.
Because I've gone back and forth. I think it's in my video, and I've got. If it's not, I need to redo it, I guess. But I had the Symphony of the Night game with the translation patch, but it still plays as the Japanese one. Even though it's in English, so you have to be the right region. But I think it auto selects. I could have sworn
that one I got from you with the translation patch.
Yep.
That was the only real. But once, honestly, usability and like UI. So the UI is not like the UI can be a little bit convoluted. Like I don't know about you, Guru or Drake, but my MiSTer is with a Wi-Fi card. I don't have the NIC card. I don't have the network cable plugged into it. So I'm running like Wi-Fi. So I have the Wi-Fi there. I had to go into the system and find, type in the password and do all that. And I'm lucky that I had a miniature keyboard that I plugged into the MiSTer to do all of that because that was really needed. Instead, he has one. Yep, exactly.
Got a wireless.
You need to have something in order to do that with the MiSTer.
Yep.
Yeah.
With the mouse
trackpad.
Oh, nice. I actually have a physical keyboard and mouse plugged into it, like wired.
Oh wow.
But that's because it's right here. If I had it down, like under the TV or something like that, and I wanted to play from the couch, I would use a wireless keyboard. Then. Yeah. But
and I hooked up the wireless. I have no problem.
Yeah.
Nothing at all. Just and I would like to ask this with the two of you. The bane of my existence when it comes to the MiSTer is the ROMs. Drake set me up with Wireshark to transfer over the ROMs. So I mean, it's not bad. You're accessing the drive, sending everything over from that. Using the username and password. That's really easy, but the ROMs are what is a problem, and I think that's a problem for most. Is that
finding good ROMs?
Yes, and I downloaded, I followed Drake's video to a T, and I downloaded Neo Geo ROMs. I'm not going to say from where,
right.
but I downloaded ROMs, and I can't get them to work now. Here's something, and I was talking to Oaz about this, and I just called up my friend real quickly. My friend Gabe's folder structure for PlayStation is he has the folder unzipped. He has the regular folder on in the root of PlayStation, and the folder just sits there. I tried that with Zanac, and it wouldn't play at all. The system the MiSTer refused. So I had to unzip the folder, take all the files out of the folder, transfer all the files onto the root of the PlayStation folder, and then it played Zanac. So what? And then I've heard, Drake, from you that yours are zipped, I believe, and your MiSTer will access the zip files. So
it
what's
doesn't do
this?
like CD systems. You don't want those zipped.
Right.
Okay.
Because the problem is, I think the zip is actually built into the OS, like the MiSTer main. So it's part of the system. So all the cores can just tap into that and it'll unzip it for you.
Okay.
I've not found a core that hasn't done it yet, to my knowledge. As far as zip things, the problem is the CD stuff. It's too big, and to unzip it'd be slow, and it doesn't access it right.
Right.
So the best way for the CDs, because you do want to compress them as best as you can because they're big, there's something called CHD, which stands for compressed hunks of data. But it's basically a specialized sort of zip form for CDs.
For CD format.
Yeah. And
Okay.
you can convert anything to CHD. You do have to. It takes a little computer knowledge. Like you have to have a program and just run it on your like ISO, and then it will do it. The problem is, especially if you can find them like that right out on the thing, but it's hard to find, like if you're doing your own patching, like an ISO, and you're patching translation or something like that, then there's probably not going to be a CHD format of it out there, so you have to patch the original. You can't patch a CHD. You have to patch the original like ISO format and then convert it to CHD.
When you patch, you don't have to recompile anything. Is that correct?
Correct. The patch does all the work for you. It just takes,
Okay.
what it does is it changes all the bits that you need to change.
Okay.
Yeah. And the other thing to remember is, for a CD based system, the core itself has to support the CHD format in order for that to work.
Okay.
Correct. The core does have to support that, which I think all the ones that do CDs do support that. I haven't done a video on each one, but everyone I've tried does support it, and I think they all do.
So do you have the folder, just the folder? Or do you have like the actual files in the directory of the PlayStation?
Well, what I do is it's PlayStation,
files.
and then it's a folder that's like the name of the game, and then the
Okay.
files for that
Are
game
in that folder.
are in that folder, which is going to be like your bin Q format usually, I think.
Yes.
Or so it'll be bin, or it'll be Q and then a bunch of bin files. That's the big compressed format. You can change those into CHD, and then it's just like one CHD file, and you can get, if you're lucky, you can get 60% compression on it. Usually you get like 40-ish% compression on those, so they take up quite a bit less space, especially when you're talking about like 700 megabytes. You cut that down to like 300, and some of the games are that small to begin with, so then and then it's like 100 megabytes or something like that, and then it adds up on an SD card. So that's where you might want to have multiple SD cards.
Right. To have I think I actually have on my MiSTer. You were right. I think I showed you when I sent you the picture. But yeah, I have like the SD slot there, and then I think I have another backup SD. Yeah, main SD and then secondary SD right here. So I have two SD slots on that.
Yeah, I've not used the secondary one. Some cores can use that. I have not messed with that much at all. But I do have that. That comes with the IO board.
Have either of you had it where it's like you'll get the ROMs and then you'll unzip them and then they don't work. They're just dead to begin with when you try to load them.
Not really.
No, not really. I mean, I have run across a ROM here or there if it like the headers weren't right, or if I found a bad collection or something like that, or
Okay.
or a much older collection, like if I got something from the 90s or something like that. But for the
Sometimes the ROM
most,
dumps are bad, and
Yeah.
sometimes companies will put out bad ROMs to make it more
Yeah.
difficult
yeah,
for people to get good ROMs. Because if you're sailing the high seas, you're gonna come across some stuff that
yeah,
is meant to not work.
Right.
So,
yeah. Which fortunately or unfortunately, that's the way it is because of the copyrights and things. I'm not going to get into that, but you can go look for this stuff and it's there, but we can't tell you, where to. We can't tell you the
Yes.
the sites to look for it.
Yeah.
But if you know, you know.
Yep.
It is very good for
word of mouth.
localization patches. That's for sure. I mean, that is one thing I love the MiSTer for is localization. Like you could be playing, Saturn games and you could have a localization for them.
Yeah, it's very easy
and
to use those. Yeah.
yeah, it is. It's very easy.
Yeah. Although, so you like the Vectrex? Sorry to sort of jump rails here, but I was curious. The Vectrex Core, have you played it much?
I played it maybe 1 or 2 times.
Okay, because that's one of the places that the MiSTer doesn't do very good, in my opinion. I mean, it plays good, but the graphics do not look good because you just can't. You really got to emulate
Yeah.
that, and it just does not look the same. It doesn't have that really nice look to it that you can
modern
do. I think,
displays don't duplicate it very well.
yeah, modern display does not duplicate it very well with them, and so that's a drawback on the MiSTer. And MiSTer is not powerful enough, like the ARM chip on it, which is like runs the Linux side, right? Isn't powerful enough to do the coding that has to do to make it. Now there is a really good emulator that it looks gorgeous, and I've used it and it's great. And I actually tried to record it and put it into my Vectrex video, but it takes so much stuff. I could not record and play the thing at the same time. My computer would just freeze up because
Yeah.
it does take a lot of power. So that's how I know that, like, the MiSTer, it's just not going to work on the MiSTer. But you can hook it up to an oscilloscope. Now, where you get one and how you wire up the loom and all that stuff, that's beyond me. So it's more like a theoretical. You can do it. I mean, someone has done it, but it's not for the. I would think it's not for the timid or the not technically inclined. I would do it, but it'd be a lot of work, So I'd have to really, really want one. To do that.
Vectrex is one of those areas where I'm glad that the MiSTer can do it and it's worth checking out on the MiSTer.
Yes.
But if you really want to get close to the Vectrex experience in a modern context, using an emulator, which I can't remember the name of it, but there is a Vectrex emulator that's very good. And basically on a 4K OLED display that's really bright, that's about the closest you're going to get to playing it on the real hardware, just because of the ability to simulate the bloom and the resolution that you would get.
It's a lot of the bloom.
Yeah.
Is the big thing. And it just behaves different. And you can't, a modern display doesn't behave that way, And even with a regular CRT doesn't behave that way because it's not a vector monitor. It's different. It'd be closer, but not the same.
Yep.
And that's why in my video I just use a sort of thing that makes it's like a grid type thing, and it looks more like a CRT in that one. But I just did it because it looks better, but it's not right, But I was just like, this looks better than just without it. So I put it in there. But yeah. It does do the overlays though. That's nice.
You're muted.
Am I muted?
The sheets. No, I
Oh,
am. The sheets
say
that
it,
go on
okay.
the Vectrex screen. Yeah, like Star Trek.
Yeah.
The overlays.
Yeah.
They go on the screen. Yeah.
Okay, so Sane was showing off his MiSTer, which is a pre-built. I know that you can buy them where they're not pre-built, and you can basically build it yourself.
Mhm.
What is the basic stuff that you need? How much does it cost? And what is setup like for the initial setup and putting
Good
stuff together if you're
question.
not doing it, buying a pre-built?
I feel the most qualified to answer this, if you don't mind me going first. Because I did that. That was one of the things I was kind of afraid of when I was like, well, if Game Boy Guru's done it, then I can do it too, and I can ask him since he's put it together, right? He didn't know that I was thinking that, but but I was, and I was like, I can ask him if I get into trouble, right? So then I didn't get into trouble, but I went and I looked online and I did a lot of research, and it's confusing out there as to what you need to get to do it. That's the toughest issue. But in the end, I was surprised at how easy it was to put together. I found it easier than the Raspberry Pi. But I'll tell you, because you want to know the ingredients that you need. You need a DE10 Nano or equivalent. There are a couple of what do you call them? Like clone boards out there now because of its popularity. Unfortunately, the DE10 Nano is a lot more expensive than it used to be. When I got it, it was starting to go up in price. I think it was like 150, 160 bucks when the MiSTer sort of started to be a thing, and I got it for I think 170, 180 dollars. Now, if you want to get it from like Mauser or whatever, it's $250. Plus tax
Wow.
and shipping and stuff. Yeah, it's gone up a lot just for that board.
Wow. The Nano board.
Yeah, just for the DE10 Nano board, which is the core of the system that has the FPGA chip on it and the ARM controller, and it has the HDMI out, things like that. But you need that. You need the RAM. Technically, there are a few cores that you can run without the RAM, but if you really want to get into what the MiSTer can do, get the RAM.
Yes.
Yeah, that's your DE10 Nano there. But yeah, get the RAM. The RAM's like $60 for 128 meg, and you just stick it in there, and it has a thing that says this side out and all that, and you just drop it in there. It's easy. So you got that. You got those two parts, and you need one more part because the DE10 Nano comes with power supply, so you don't have to get that. And you need one more part. You need an on-the-go or OTG USB hub, which you can get one from Amazon for like $8 or $13 or something like that. And it's kind of the quote-unquote ghetto way to do it, if you will, but it works, and it's the best way to get the taste. And then you don't spend as much, like getting the case, getting the extra USB board, getting the I/O board. Those aren't necessary to enjoy and use the MiSTer. Those are there for enhancements, making it better, more convenient, creature comfort, quality of life improvements and stuff, which I was glad I did eventually. And that's what I did. I did it piecemeal. So I just spent like, I don't know, $200-ish, because I got the RAM, so that's 120, like maybe 250-ish, because I got the RAM, and I only spent 170 or whatever it was on the board, and I got the the really cheap on the go USB hub. I can give you a link to it. It's still available on Amazon last I checked. But I got those, and that's all you need to do it. Now, I mean, you need an HDMI cable, you need a monitor, you need controllers, right? But assuming you already have those, right? Because you can use whatever. You can use PlayStation controllers with it, I think.
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
You just need the what is it, a snack adapter?
Snack adapter.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even have a snack adapter, but I think I thought you could do thought you used like the PlayStation 3 ones or something like that, but I can't remember.
Oh yeah, those will
Yeah,
work.
you can. Those work.
Or you can use. I think what I used originally was I had the Logitech 310, whatever it is, F310 or something. I can't remember
Yep.
the number, but the classic 310
Yep.
Logitech. I think that's what I used originally with it because I was using
Yeah.
that with my Raspberry Pi, and I just moved it over to the MiSTer.
Yeah, the
I think-
F310 works fine, and
Yeah.
a PlayStation 3 controller works fine because it uses D input, and that is a
Right,
standard input type that the MiSTer will accept.
right.
I've seen a lot of people talk about using 8-bit Duo.
Yeah, I have one of
Yep.
those.
MiSTer, yeah.
I actually have a video in that playlist that has where I go over controllers. And that's one it's an 8-bit Duo Pro 2, and actually Joel recommended that. He said I got one of those and never looked back, and so I got one, and I agreed with him.
Yeah,
They're very good controllers.
I went a similar route. Of course, I was, as you mentioned, I was the first one in this group to buy one, and so I bought the DE10 Nano board from, I think it was from Amazon, and
I think
then
mine was too. Yeah.
I haven't actually kitted mine out with the case and the boards and all that other stuff. Mine is literally just still the original DE10 Nano. I'm using that OTG USB hub still.
Mhm.
And it's important to note, I wanted to make sure and mention that if you have a DE10 Nano board, one of the legit Thoracic boards, that OTG cable is a mini USB style.
Yes.
If you buy one of the newer MiSTer Pi units, for example, which is a clone, if memory serves, that's USB. And so you would, if you aren't going to go for the
USB-C, you mean?
full, yeah, USB-C, sorry.
Yeah.
If you're not going to go for the full kit with the boards and all of that stuff, the USB hub board and the other things, you would need a USB-C OTG cable. But yeah, I'm running the original DE10 Nano, the 128 megabyte RAM upgrade, and that OTG USB hub. And then on that USB hub, I have a Bluetooth adapter so I can pair Bluetooth controllers with it. I have the little dongle for my, keyboard and mouse setup, which you do need.
You need
And
a
then-
keyboard, especially for the computers.
Yes.
Yes. And for troubleshooting, because some of the cores are a little funky with how
Yeah. It's
the
very,
button
very
layout can-
beneficial. Yeah.
Yeah, the button layout can change between some of the cores. And so sometimes a certain button on your gamepad or joystick might not open the OSD, the on-screen display menu. And so sometimes you still need that keyboard just to make sure you can access that and
Right.
move around with that functionality.
Very rarely, but yes.
The other thing I would recommend, I mentioned the Bluetooth. Definitely go Bluetooth if you're going to have your MiSTer set up in a TV setup where you're not. It's going to be harder to do a wired controller. My joystick is wired but that's because I'm insane, and my joystick has a 10-foot cable, and I've got a 6-foot USB extension that connects it so that I can, get it all the way there. But Bluetooth is definitely helpful. Bluetooth pairing controllers with the MiSTer can sometimes be a little fiddly. So that's one other potential hang up. But wired, as long as it'll support the right outputs, you're good.
Yeah.
The other thing I would highly, highly recommend is that the DE10 Nano board that comes with a power supply, but that's all it is a power supply. And so when you want to power the MiSTer off, you have to unplug it.
Yeah.
You can buy a little jumper that you can then plug the power supply into that, and then plug the jumper into the MiSTer or the DE10 Nano, and then it's just a rocker switch. And so then that makes it much easier to turn it on and off without having to unplug it. And
I did get one of those as an interim step. Yeah. The IO board has an on-off switch.
right.
Right
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
And so if you're not going to go for one of the IO boards, then I would very highly recommend that.
I would agree. It was that was so nice. Same thing for the Raspberry Pi, I think is like that too.
So how long do you think you guys would say that your first time setting it up so you could actually play a game, just a rough estimate, like how long did it take it from getting it and to playing it, whether you had to put it together or not?
Getting it to playing it. Well, when it was just the 3 pieces, it was easy to assemble it. I mean, that's like 5 minutes tops, like unwrapping all the boxes and stuff and sticking everything together. The longest part is like formatting the SD card and putting all the ROMs on it.
Right. And then prepping the MiSTer environment on the SD card, which can be a little bit funky. Yeah, I think initially when I set mine up,
easier. Yeah.
When I set mine up, it was still a little bit of a Wild West process because it was relatively new at the time. And so I probably spent 2, 3, 4 hours just doing all the prep and everything. Now there are tools that you can download to help you set up, format, and prep an SD card for the basics. And then it's just a matter of loading up the games and the content that you want. And then of course, getting into the MiSTer, booting up the MiSTer, and then updating any of the stuff online.
Update, the trick was getting update all on it. And I didn't do that. Initially, I didn't do that. I was doing it by hand, and then I got update all because I was by hand installing the arcade cores.
Oh, wow.
Now, mind you, there were only like 15 back then or something and not 150 or whatever.
Right.
But there's probably more than that, actually. But there was, so I was like, let me get Pac-Man. Okay, I'll download that one. Let me get, Scramble or whatever it was, and I was just getting the, some of the classic, really old ones, probably Mario Brothers or something like that, Donkey Kong or something like that, and I was just getting those, and it was, that was really tricky. So I'm really, really grateful for Update All. I can still do it if I have to, but that's one of those where you really want the Update All, and to add on to that, I would say there's a new program that's new as of this year, came out like in March or something. It's already on version 6 something, called MiSTer Companion, and it will walk you through all the steps, all the things. And I used it to set up the SMB or Samba network share, so I can just open the MiSTer in like the file system in my Windows desktop. I just open it up. I'm right there, and I can just drag and drop stuff in. It's a little bit touchy if you're doing like big files because just Samba gets glitchy like that. But then you might want to SFTP them or something like that. But for the most part, it works. Like when I was doing the Amiga one, it did lock up when I was doing the most recent Amiga one because that's like a couple gig. That's a big file. But other than that, it's been great. So much easier to just drag the stuff over. I used to use it on my phone, and I would drop it onto my NAS, and I'd copy it from the NAS over to the MiSTer using my phone because I could connect both easily.
Really?
But it was a lot of extra steps, And then in my videos, I didn't show that because it's like, well, I'm not gonna like record on my. I could record on my phone, but I'm not gonna do it just to show whatever because you'd have to have like not my phone, but you'd have, it's an Android phone, right? So if you got an iPhone, then my instructions don't help you, and what have you. So I'm just like using SFTP program like WinSCP or something like that. I'm sure there's a Mac one too for something. I don't know if WinSCP works on Macs, but I'm sure there is something similar.
Right. And the Update All, when we say that is there are scripts that you can run on the MiSTer to do certain things. That is one of the scripts that you want to make sure you set up when you configure your MiSTer, because then what that will do is essentially look to a repository online that you would think of in the Linux world, and it will basically download all of the cores that are out of beta, essentially, and it'll download all of those. For the arcade cores, it'll download the ROM information. And then for everything else, it'll download all the, just all the files required in order to run those cores.
Right.
There are some cores where you'll have to supply things like some of the newer systems. You might have to supply a BIOS file or
Right.
files based on the region.
Yeah, it usually goes and gets those if you have the update all. There's an option for it.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, there is.
Yeah, that's why I like update all, because it grabs all the BIOSes for you with at least one exception, which is the Atari ST. Does not grab those. That one's a little bit of a pain, but yeah, it grabs the BIOS stuff for you. It's so that's one of the reasons that does not come with, and you have to put it on yourself. You have to put that script on because it does that. They don't want to package it with the MiSTer stuff.
Right. Legality.
Yeah, right, exactly. It's one of those like degrees of separation. So you download that, but the MiSTer Companion will go get that for you and put it on your MiSTer. So you don't even have to like figure out where to put it, drop it here, do this. No, you just click a few things. The interface is a little like it's gotten a little bit more complicated because you can do so much with MiSTer Companion. So it's almost more complicated now than the older versions. But you can still find it. You can do so many things with it.
Yeah. I had my MiSTer booted up earlier, and one of the things that I used the MiSTer Companion for was you can actually have it download wallpaper to put on the MiSTer, so that instead of a standard MiSTer background or that snow effect that you would get with a CRT TV when you're not on a working channel, it would show wallpaper. And I had it booted up earlier, and it was, randomly it was Streets of Rage in the background. And then when I turned off the MiSTer and then turned it on again a little bit later, then it came up and it was Rainbow Islands. And so, it's cool stuff like that you can do to sort of spruce up and make things a little bit nicer.
Some of those wallpapers have my name on them.
Yeah.
What? Really?
Yes, really. The ones that are in the I think it's the Pixel Cherry Ninja ones that were done by Anime Otaku, who's the guy that did the MiSTer Companion program. And I was on one of his live streams, not on the stream, like in chat. I was in chat on one of his live streams, and they were doing X68000 stuff, and I was like, "Ooh, do Castlevania, do Castlevania." So that's the one I have on my MiSTer right now. It's a wallpaper, and so it says Pixel Cherry Ninja, Anime Otaku, and it has a nice Silent Belmont on it, and my name, my YouTube name down in the corner, Drake Tungsten 74. On there, so yeah, I got one. He was doing it for free, just do it. It's a wallpaper. He was just throwing it together. But it's like wallpaper challenge because people in there would just name whatever they want, and then whoever named it, they got the name on the thing, and so he did those, and it was pretty cool.
That is very cool.
It was just one of those like live challenge, like I'll make it right now for you.
Sold yet it was?
Nope.
Yeah, he really wants that wallpaper. I mean, that's totally.
I mean, the wallpaper's peak for the MiSTer.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I mean, with the whole display of the wallpaper and everything, but nah.
Well, you want to talk about the snack adapters?
Those are cool.
I mean, we talked about the controller some, a little bit about the snack adapters. Is there anything we should mention more about?
Well,
snack?
with the snack adapter, you can use original controllers.
Yes.
So this isn't just now. You can get like, for example, I have an adapter that's a USB adapter, so it adapts Super Nintendo to USB. So I can use that, and I can use an original Super Nintendo controller on USB. The thing with the snack is it's actually serial native, so you don't get any lag on it. This one is a USB, so it's translating stuff to USB, so there's a little processing time in there on that one. It's not too bad with that. But with a snack adapter, there's no lag as far as that goes, because it is directly talking to the chips on the main board, just like a real Genesis controller would do. And in fact, it is a real Genesis controller too that you can use, for example.
Yes.
not just a USB one that has the same feel. It's, you can use an actual Genesis controller on there, and it is serial native, just like original. Like it's just talking on the wire and thing. Disadvantage of that is you normally can't bring up the menu with it, and that's where the keyboard comes in, or a second controller that's USB or something like that.
I have the adapter because when I bought the MiSTer, the guy messaged me and said, "Hey, listen, like I'm getting rid of this. I'm gonna go to a Polymega or something because I'm backwards with the guy that I bought the MiSTer off of." He said,
Yeah.
I have that snack adapter. Do you want it? I'll throw it in for like an extra 100." So I said, okay. And it's basically a think of a breakout board, but instead it's like multiple cables. So it kind of looks like an octopus with like many arms. And you can take your original controller and plug it into there and play. And that's where I said I liked the MiSTer a lot, because playing with that and just like Super Nintendo and having that Super Nintendo controller feel and playing on the MiSTer, it's worlds different than anything you could do on your computer and so on. But Drake is right, and so is Guru. You need a separate keyboard, like a Bluetooth or wireless keyboard or something, to have on the MiSTer to go back for the core, to reload the game, and all that other stuff. That was one thing I was really impressed with, was the breakout for the controllers and the way it handles the inputs for that. It is amazing.
That's going to be my next MiSTer related purchase, most likely.
It's so I'll be honest with you, having the analog Duo and then having the MiSTer is 1,000 worlds easier to use when it comes to controllers compared to the analog, because the analog, I tried the 8-bit, it didn't work, wired. Then I tried the only thing I got to work was the Nintendo Switch Pro controller, and I had it hooked up into the analog, and even then the inputs were weird. And I watched tons of videos, and they all set up, you got to get the 8-bit PC Engine Duo, the PC Engine controller with the dongle, and they don't make it anymore. They want an arm and a leg on eBay, and I said, the hell with it. And I got old school's PC Engine controller, and with the adapter from PC Engine and USB, and that's what I use from now on to play all my shmups for PC Engine. But it was such a pain to get that controller to work. And in the MiSTer, 1, 2, 3, you're done. Controller is automatically programmable. Try, and I know Woz brought this up to me, but try to program a controller in RetroArch, and then you come talk to me about programming a controller in the MiSTer. It's like night and day compared to this stuff.
Oh yeah, the RetroArch interface is terrible.
It's miserable.
We try to do that for what we were doing. We were doing challenges and stuff on streams.
Yeah, it's the worst interface I've ever used.
Yeah,
and that's saying something. Because I've been around a long time. I've used a lot of interfaces.
You mean you don't want to go back to Windows 3.1?
Oh, I hate Windows 3.1.
So,
yeah, I would rather use Windows 3.1 than.
Oh wow!
Easily, hands down. And I hate Windows 3.1.
RetroArch just is not. It's not. Everything has to be configured every time. Felt like, and
it's horrible to use.
Picking the BIOSes and the user interface was not well done.
It's capable, but it's just it's
very not intuitive.
It's not it's not intuitive, and stuff's in two or three different places.
Yep.
And there's
so you change it in 2 or 3 different places, and you're not sure which one fixed it.
Right.
But
yeah.
Saying, did you check to see if you have the most current firmware for your Duo?
Yeah, I do. I always update firmwares. That's one of the first things they do. Normally, even
Yeah.
at work, people will be like, "Oh, did you update your firmware?" I'm like, "Yeah, I ran, the firmware updates." So, but I mean, it was miserable. So my my thing was, I got the MiSTer because, like I said, with Drake,
Because you're trying
uh,
to keep up with the gurus.
yes,
Mhm.
and I don't know, Guru, if you have it, but I backed the Poly Mega with all the cores, and I hated the Poly Mega because I went the Poly Mega with um the I went with the Poly Mega, the first iteration, where if you had the background music, it wouldn't load your games and your games would crash.
Hmm.
Then they had to release the firmware update because of that. Great. Then there was something else that happened when changing the system box, the little box things, whatever the hell you want to call them, and plug them into the system. The connector, I think serial ports that it used did not join correctly. The boards, the inputs did not match up, and then you would have something where it would break. It wouldn't copy games correctly, and what was really annoying. Oh, I guess he kicked himself. What was really annoying was the fact that with the Polymega, um, I had to get a Super Famicom dongle to plug into the Super Nintendo in order to load Super Famicom games.
Yeah. And see, I I was intrigued by the Polymega when it was announced, and it sounded cool conceptually, but I think it failed to deliver a lot of what they were going to do, because instead of using FPGA technology like they originally said, they ended up more or less with emulation in a lot of cases. And so there's some FPGA, there's some emulation, software emulation, and so it's kind of a mixed bag.
Yeah.
And from what I understand, the performance of it is um, good in some ways and iffy in others.
I blew what was it? Arrow Flash on the system. I put Arrow Flash into the Genesis module. That was a module. I
Yeah.
slid everything in, make sure everything was all nice and hooked up. I had it sitting on the desk when I was doing it. Turned it on, tried to load, dump the ROM onto, dump the game onto the system, and because the module did not line up correctly, or I might have been a hair off or whatever, it short circuited the board in Arrow Flash and blew Arrow Flash completely out.
Oh
Um,
man.
I told Owas out of 340 Genesis games that I have, maybe 152 worked, and I cleaned the boards, make sure everything was nice. I bought huge bin, like two larger binge of alcohol wipes, just to make sure they were all nice and clean, Q-tips, and out of like 340, like maybe 150 worked. Miserable, absolutely. So then I went to the MiSTer, and the MiSTer's great, and we're talking about this, and I know I'm not well versed on this because I just found out about this week, but um, the MiSTer now is saying that you can hook up a CD-ROM
Hmm.
and play your CD games if you guys want to get into that.
Yeah, saw that.
I know nothing about that. I have to look into it, but
You can actually hook up, I think, a floppy drive to it as well for the Amiga.
no way.
Yeah, a real floppy drive if you wanted.
That is
No
so
way.
cool.
I'm just afraid of the floppy drives like wearing out, but it's kind of
I mean,
like the reverse of what I want to do. But
the
but
motor
it's
burns
cool that
out,
you
Drake.
can.
You burned down your house. It's all right. I mean, I did it
Yeah.
all for the love of the Amiga.
Yeah, but it's so cool that you can do that. One of the other interesting things now, this is not for me, but I think it's for a lot of those people that want that sort of like, okay, you get the cartridge and you pop the cartridge in kind of feel. It's not the
Yeah.
same as, but they sort of simulate that. There's this thing called Zapparoo, I think it's called, and it uses RFID tags. So you got an RFID reader, you hook it up to the MiSTer, and you get the RFID tag, and you just slap it on there, and it will load that game. It does has a little script in there, so it'll load whatever game you want, in there. Which is, well, for two reasons. One, it's really convenient because you can just switch games out. So like if you're doing the snack adapter and you don't have to get to the menu and you have a certain set of games that you like to play, you can program these chips, just boom, you can load the next game, boom. And it also does sort of replicate. It's not the same as putting a cartridge in there, but it's at least you have to get up and go grab the card and put it on the machine.
With like a physical card?
Yeah, a physical card, physical RFID tag card.
Wow.
Mhm.
Wow.
Now, for me, I just browse the menu. It's good enough for me, but
let me ask you something.
It's cool that you can do that.
Did you get I remember talking about this, but my knowledge is a little hazy with this. Did you get a ROM, like a ROM dump, like module, and then hook that up to the MiSTer and take your physical cards and dump them, like dump the ROMs onto the MiSTer?
Yes, I've forgotten I had done that. Yes, I did, because I got the TOA plan, like shooting collection or whatever it was called. And one of the reasons I wanted to get that is because it had Zero Wing in there, which was never released in North America, right? So there's not an NTSC version for it. It was only released in like Europe, and I guess the Japanese version would have been NTSC, but it's NTSC-J. But it was never released in North America. So I was like, I really wanted that because it's the classic game it was like basically the first big internet meme of all your base. That's where that comes from, is that game. I had to get it. They were really, really cool, and they put an all your base thing in there, and they got it. They understood. It's a good game too. On top of it, it's not a bad game. And it's classic TOA plan shmup. So I got that, and I dumped those ROMs because I wanted to preserve them, because I'm like, this is a North American version.
Wow.
It wasn't the ROM's probably 99% the same anyway, but it's just nice to have that. And it does have like the 20 whatever it was, 2024 like copyright on it or logo on it or whatever it is, that's different because it was the newer release, and I think it has whoever made that, I can't remember. I'm having a
Retrobit.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a mental block on there. It was a Retrobit. So it says Retrobit instead of like whoever published it originally. So that's like one little difference. And then if there is any different programming in it for it being 60 hertz instead of 50, but other than that, it's really the same game. It's got the whole intro and all that fun stuff.
So here's another question. What is your favorite core on the MiSTer?
What is your favorite color?
Blue. Sorry,
Blue.
core. What's my favorite core? That's a good. Well, favorite core has got to be Amiga. It's got to be the Amiga core, because that was one of the reasons I got it, because again, the whole like it's super accurate, blah blah blah. The best emulation, that felt the most like correct to me of before that was, believe it or not, was on the Wii of Amiga emulation.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, WinUAE was pretty good too. So that would also be good. But yeah, the Wii, when I soft modded it, and because I wanted to just, again, the idea, it was just this sort of I don't know, it's sort of a dream of mine from long ago of having a system where you could run everything on it, which you could do with a computer, but you got to drag out your emulator. You got to have your different emulator, or you got to have RetroArch, which is not fun to use. So that was the idea of, and you could just go through the menu and pick it or whatever. Is very intuitive. You use a game controller to pick stuff. You didn't have to type all that, and obviously you want a keyboard for the Amiga stuff because it's a computer and you do need keyboards for some of the games. But yeah, so I did that. I did the Raspberry Pi. I've just always been, and it's partly a preservation thing, I think, and partly just having a collection of being able to play stuff that you can play and just having it contained. So that was one of the reasons I got Animal Crossing, was because it had NES games in it. That was the reason I got it originally. And it turned out to be a fun game, so it was great. I got it. I got Phantasy Star Online because I heard you could I think that was one where you could hack the GameCube with it or something, and I bought it for that. And I don't think I ever used it to hack the GameCube, believe it or not. I just played the game. It was good.
Yeah, PSO was a good game.
Yeah, and things like that, So the Raspberry Pi was a great thing, and the MiSTer was just basically I just graduated from the Raspberry Pi up to the MiSTer. It was just a little bit more at the time, and it was supposed to be that much better. And I couldn't believe how easy. I was worried about it because it was, it was very much a hobbyist thing, and it felt like, one of these guys when the Apple One came out, like building an Apple One, because all you got was the motherboard with the Apple One. That was it, and you had to source like your TV or whatever, and your keyboards and stuff like that. I believe, it was a build it yourself kind of a thing back in the day. Now, that is slightly before my time. Okay, just want to say that. But that's what it was back then. That's what this reminded me of with the MiSTer, because you had to go source the parts and assemble it physically, put it together and that sort of stuff. But it wasn't hard at all. It's not like you don't have a solder or anything, or anything like that. So, it's more like putting Legos together, but you got a couple of screws. But you know what I mean? It's simpler.
Yeah, it started out very much as a hobbyist project, and it has sort of evolved into an ecosystem where not only do you have a lot of developers writing cores, but then you have multiple hardware people, vendors, and hobbyists who have little businesses going, selling accessories for the MiSTer. You've got new iterations of it, like the MiSTer Pi that we mentioned.
Yeah.
MiSTer Multi-Station, which is a UK-based sort of all-in multi-system, which is a kind of an all-in-one implementation of the FPGA hardware with a built-in USB hub and built-in I/O and snack ports and all of that stuff.
It's actually not a bad price for what all you get with it.
Right. Or there's even the Superstation, which is basically just a MiSTer in a mini PlayStation-esque type shell, and it runs the same cores because it's essentially just a different implementation of the MiSTer standard.
He wrote a different front side for that too.
Right. Yeah, different UI. That's which I think he said he was going to release. I don't know if he did yet. So if you want to use that on the MiSTer, regular MiSTer, you could. I don't have experience with that, so I can't speak to that. But it's a little more I don't know what do you call it, visually friendly, if you will. If you're into like looking at a picture of the game or whatever. Yeah, it's gonna be more aesthetically pleasing than the bog standard MiSTer interface, which is just basic.
Utilitarian.
Yeah, it's very utilitarian, very functional.
Mm-hmm.
What's your favorite core, Guru?
Oh, there's no way I could pick.
Your top two.
I mean, I've spent a ton of time with the NES core, the Genesis core, some with the Super Nintendo core. I mean, if I had to pick one, I would maybe say the Game Boy family of cores, just because it's an excellent way to play Game Boy, Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance games. Because outside of something like the Analog Pocket with a dock, this is the most convenient and cleanest way to play those games on a television.
something OWASP might be interested in.
Yeah, I mean, same thing
It-
with like Game Gear or
Uh-huh.
Atari Lynx, all of this stuff. It's so much easier to play this stuff through a MiSTer than it is through most other means.
Yeah. It's basically a consoleized version of all those handhelds.
Yeah.
Which I am not a handheld gamer. That's
Right.
why even the Switch,
Right.
I don't play it in handheld mode. So yeah, I do prefer something like a consoleized version of it. That's why I would love a consoleized version of a Switch. But playing Game Boy Advance games, Game Boy Color, I play them through the Game Boy Player on the GameCube.
Yeah.
And then I've got the adapters for the Mega SG if I want to play Game Gear games. So those would definitely be another reason to pick one up.
I
Yep.
really enjoyed the PlayStation Core.
Nobody cares about PlayStation.
Yeah, maybe.
Everybody hates PlayStation now.
Okay.
PlayStation, Sony is the bane of
Uh-huh.
video games and all
So
that other stuff.
okay. So the PlayStation Core it was interesting because I didn't know anything about these Japanese shooters that were on PlayStation.
Oh.
And I mean, I was blown away by Night Raid.
Yep.
And I thought Night Raid was phenomenal. And I kind of, when I got the MiSTer, that was one of the first things I went very hard on, was looking for, Japanese translated PlayStation games, shooters, Psychosis, dumping all of those onto the MiSTer and then playing them. Like I remember, Zanak saying, "Wow, this looks like," I don't know if I don't know if I'm saying it right or not, but I was like, wow, like these are really good. Only playing these games, on whatever that arcade machine is that came from Japan that was Sega, but the Egress. But I mean,
Oh,
I was like, wow, I couldn't believe, like, the MiSTer had all of these games and playing all of them, and like I only played them at conventions, and this is amazing to just sit there and play. And I think I spent 6 hours just researching, looking for games, throwing them on there, playing them, bugging Drake about where to get them. So I was blown away by that, and just translated Super Famicom games that I could play. Behemoth Lagoon. I have a translated cart from Japan, but just to even sit and play that on the MiSTer and have access to that was incredible.
yeah.
Absolutely incredible.
It's easier for older consoles because you can easily buy a flash cart and then just either download translation patches or fully translated games and just dump them on an SD card and easily run those. But yeah, unless you have a CD based console with an ODE, sometimes running the out of region games is a lot harder. So yes, MiSTer is a great opportunity to do that for something like Saturn and PlayStation, where it's easy to play PAL games or NTSC-J games and check some of those titles out, because it's just a lot easier to access that stuff through a platform like the MiSTer, and do it in a way where it's easy, convenient, and very immediate versus something like an emulator.
I could see that the region lock not being a bar to entry anymore.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you guys this. Talking about input and a bunch of all this stuff, a bunch of other stuff, but what about output? Are you guys all going to modern televisions, or have any of you messed around with outputting to CRT?
I've not done CRT.
Go
yet.
ahead.
That's all I was just saying. I've not done CRT yet, so there's not much I can do. I originally was doing it just because I'm not really that big on CRTs for whatever reason. I was really enamored by the LCD technology like before it even came out. So that's kind of the way I want to go. But I would like to do it because it will help with the videos I make because other people want to do it. So I probably will try it out eventually. Sorry to jump in on you because
No, you're good. I
Yeah.
haven't either. Part of that is because, like I said, I'm still rocking the original setup that I bought years ago. And so I've never invested in, I've always wanted to, but I've just never taken the plunge to invest in a board. I think I want to go with the analog IO board.
yeah.
Because there is an adapter that I would be able to buy that would be, because I think the analog IO board has a DB15 connector, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
And then there's a breakout cable where you can go DB15 to component. That's what I would need, because then I could run that through the rest of the stuff I have with my capture setup. That would enable me to run it on the CRT that sits in front of me and run through the capture so that the analog output is the same in both. I can run it through that and display not only the analog signal on this TV here, but then also that same analog signal could go through my capture setup. So it would be a very one-to-one kind of thing.
Yeah. You could also use the HDMI ports and split it that way too.
True. I could.
Yeah.
So I could do it either way, but you know, it's one of those things where I want to do it. I just haven't yet. I mean, because the DE10 Nano has an HDMI on board, and I think it tops out at 1080p max resolution.
Not strictly true. It can get a little bit higher, but 1080p is usually the standard.
Okay.
It can go up to 1081.
No, I think it goes up to like
1440,
something like that. We looked it up the other day.
I was just making.
I have a 1081. I think is it the Commodore monitor? Isn't that 1081 or something like that?
Oh,
1080.
It might be. I've got mine sitting over there.
Yeah, I've got one of those with the Amiga.
I wasn't even thinking about that.
Yeah, I think it's 1080. Maybe it's 1080. I can't remember. It's similar number, but
so
yeah.
I thought of something saying assuming you haven't tried to mess with a CRT TV.
I know my friend did because he had whatever that retro tink is that allows HDMI input. So he put HDMI input into that, and then somehow.
But he wasn't going straight from.
You can get analog out of the HDMI as well. That's what that direct video or whatever. That's what that direct video option is for, and it'll output the native like 240p or whatever it is, and then you put that through something else or whatever.
His setup, he uses an ARC system for the audio and stuff and everything. I can't get into it. I mean, like I told him, I don't have like a nuclear physics degree in order to understand his complete setup.
Yeah.
40-foot cables running to a projection TV, and I don't.
I mean, ARC is the new hotness with the audio stuff.
Which, speaking of audio, we need to go over that issue that y'all were able to work out for Guru.
Oh, the audio issue, yes.
But the talk about CRTs and outputs and inputs. So one thing that would really push me closer to getting a MiSTer is light gun games.
It does light gun games.
It does.
Yes.
How does it handle using, like, what do you have to get so you can play light gun games with it?
That's one of the things the snack adapter can do is you can then use, obviously you have to use CRT, right?
Yeah.
If you're doing classic style. There are ways to get non-CRT solutions to work, but let's go with the CRT one first. It's easier. So you can use like an original NES Zapper or the Sega one, which I can't remember the name of it. Sorry.
Light phaser. Yeah.
Oh, that.
I've used them both, so it's this. I like Sega. Okay, I just can't remember. I'm old. But you get the with the snack adapter, you can plug the zapper right into it, or the or the light phaser right into it, and it's native. So so the core in there, it's being like original hardware. It doesn't see any difference. It just sees, oh, you got a zapper connected, and the zapper works like a zapper, and you point at the CRT and it works. I've not done that, so I can't speak to how well it works. Presumably it works great. But I don't have personal experience saying to be able to say that it does personally, knowledge. But
yeah,
that's one way.
And there are a couple of light guns for later systems that would not work because they require a composite pass through and things like that. But that gets a little bit more complicated. Now, if you're not going to plug your MiSTer into a CRT and you wanted it on an HD TV so that you could have it in a different room or whatever, do more casual kind of family gaming kind of thing, there are several cores that support the Sinden light gun, which is that new new light gun. The NES core, the Super NES core, the Genesis core, and the PlayStation core all support the Sinden light gun. And I suspect that other cores will bring that along in the future, so that other systems.
I don't think there were many like Amiga light gun games. So
no, but like the Sega Saturn.
Sega Saturn.
All the arcade games that had
the arcade games are the ones. The arcade games, and there are light gun arcade games on the MiSTer. So yeah. I don't know how those work. Like if you could hook a zapper up to it with a snack or something, or if you actually had to use a Sinden or something else.
Might be mouse support for now.
Yeah. So the thing that would do it for me is like if the Sinden light gun was able to be used across most of the board.
Yeah.
Because
those Sindens are not cheap.
Controllers and stuff all the time, I think would be kind of annoying.
Yeah, I agree, and that's probably what I would look into. There's another system, and I can't remember what it's called, that was recommended. I would say go look at Video Game Esoterica, or Esoterica. Has a video on light guns with it, and there's a different system that he recommends. It's not super cheap, and I've never been super big for some reason. I've never been super big on light gun games, although I like shooting galleries and stuff. Like I've been to like shooting galleries when I was a kid and stuff like that. But I've not been super, for some reason, I'm just not super big on light gun games for whatever reason. And so I haven't delved into that as much as I probably should, especially for my channel. Not that I'm monetized or anything like that, but it's a public service type thing. So it may be something I'm interested in at some point and get into.
Yeah.
Just so that I can tell people, well, here's how you set it up. But until then, I would recommend Video Game Esoterica. Go find his video on it. You'll have to search for it. I don't have it. You know what? I may dig around for it and give you the link to that too, if you want to put it in the notes. I got a bunch of links I can find. Might be easier that way. I don't know.
My friend has that Sinden light gun for the MiSTer, and I played Elemental Gearbolt on the MiSTer, and it was nice. It was nice. I mean, there really wasn't too much of lag. Yeah, there was like issues with moving the gun around and tracking and stuff like that. Like the tracking was off a fair amount of time. There was like maybe 2 or 3 seconds worth of latency where when you press the trigger, it wouldn't, really shoot, and then it would shoot, and then you were debating on whether or not, but I heard that they're going to be doing more investigation with that, and he's very much on top of that. And coming from him playing like all these games with the special SCART cable for PlayStation, with the light gun controller, and what is it, that vampire game that's on PlayStation with the light gun, Vampire Savior, I think, or something like that. He was pretty impressed with the way it was, and I was like, okay, let me try it out. And Elemental Gearbolt was nice, but like I said, there's a delay with it, so. But it works. I mean, it's there. It works, but
Yeah, so it sounds like it's something to keep an eye out for.
Yeah.
It's just like it's something that I can't easily do. Like, I mean, I did 2 streams, I think, of the Light Phaser games for the Master System this month, and they're fun games. It's not exactly games that they really make a lot of anymore, and they're fun shooter style games. It's not like the shmups, but
Right.
something a little bit different. And they're just to me they're just interesting. So I think we covered like the updating seems pretty easily now. Or easy, oh my goodness, easy now.
Yeah.
It just kind of made me think of every time I turn on my Xbox and there's an update, it takes 15, 20 minutes. Sorry, I should say Xbox Series X. There's 15 to 20 minutes for it to do the update. Like, how long do you think it takes when you do your update all for it to pull all the information it needs to update it, restart, and get it so that you can play?
Well, it depends on how many cores have been updated.
Well, yeah, how much? Like, what would you say?
Well,
on
here's the
average?
thing.
And how frequently you do it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
here's the important thing. You don't ever have to do it like you do with PlayStation or Xbox. You don't have to you don't have to download the updates to play more games. I mean, you have to download, like, if you want to get new games that you don't have, but you don't have to run it in order, like, everything that still works is going to still work even if you don't update it.
Yeah.
Right? So you don't have to, but it is nice to do it because it's like, oh, there's some more arcade cores, or this other core was updated and it, this new features added, or whatever it is. So we do recommend doing that, but it's one of those things where, like, if you just want to play now, you don't have to wait. That's very important to know.
Right.
I think.
yeah.
I mean, it's probably worth spending the 10 to 20 minutes, I would say, once a month to update the MiSTer. I hadn't updated mine in a long time. And so it took a while for mine to download all the new arcade cores and everything else.
Yep.
But now that it's updated, especially with the MiSTer Companion that we've talked about before, is you can fire up the MiSTer, then run the MiSTer Companion software, find your MiSTer on the network, connect to it, run the update all, and just let it sit in the background while you do something else. And then after 20 minutes, come back and check on it. And if the little ticker on the bottom says that it's done, then, you can jump right in and start using it.
It can actually go out and find the MiSTer too, can't it?
Yep. And that's what I've been doing.
That's so cool.
Wow.
Like, you don't even have to, like, tell it the IP address. It'll go and, like, sniff the network and find it.
It's super handy.
Yeah, it's really good. I don't even think it had that when I first. So when I did my video, it's kind of out of date because you actually had to tell it the IP address back then. You couldn't sniff the network and see. It wasn't smart enough then. But he's been enhancing it, as it's going along, and it's like version. And I just updated it yesterday. It's new version.
This is a phone app?
No,
there is a phone app. There is a phone app, but get it for the PC.
For sure.
It's free. The PC one's for free. The phone app does exist, and I bought it just to support him because I think it's great work that he's doing, and the fun thing that he was doing where he was making the wallpapers and all that sort of stuff, and he's just, he's really good, and he's done a lot of cool things. So I wanted to support him, and so I did. So I bought the phone app. I probably won't use it much, but that's okay. It was like a couple bucks, $2-3 bucks, but that's one way you could support him if you wanted to. But the PC app, he's got it for Mac and Linux. So if there's anyone in the audience that has Mac and Linux and prefers to use those, it's available. Okay. But I get the PC version. The only thing you got to know is it's not a registered like signed with Microsoft thing. So especially if you got like Windows 11, it'll come and
That's
it'll
it,
give this
rights.
big warning.
Yeah,
It'll
the
give this big
rights.
warning that says, this software isn't like whatever registered. So it gives you a big warning to not run it, but it's fine. you just gotta click the thing and say run anyway.
Yeah, run anyway, and that's
the
it.
first time, and then it doesn't care after that. But yeah, it's a great program. I do have a video on it. I think it was like version 3, maybe 4 that was out when I did it. So it's been updated a lot since then. It looks a lot different. So my video may not be as helpful as it is, but get the program. It's good if you're into MiSTer and especially if you're first setting it up. But even if you're not, it's still useful because I used it to turn on because I didn't look into. I was like, you know what, I should turn on SMB so I can just use like my Windows, Explorer and just go to it. And I just never. I was thinking about it, and then this program comes along, and there's this button to click to turn it on. So I just click the button, and it turns it on, and like I didn't have to go and mess with the config files or any of that stuff. I just click the button, boom, it's on. Here's your thing. And there's a button that you can click inside the thing to open up the folder even, if you want to.
Wow.
I mean, you can manually type in the IP address and such in Windows and get to it, but which I usually do. But if you wanted to be, you launch the program and click the button. It's that simple. And it's wonderful.
Well, I learned a lot about this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot. And before we lose track of it again, let's go ahead and talk about the audio issue Guru's having and what you guys
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I was having a bit of an issue with my MiSTer and with audio. And I want to preface this by saying that this is probably not going to be as common unless you are super geeking out on this stuff. What I'm trying to do with my setup is run everything through my scaler, my RetroTink 4K. And so all of my HDMI consoles or configurations that are 1080p and lower run through the RetroTink. That's PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, Xbox 360, Switch, Wii U. I've got a retro USB AVS, which is actually FPGA, NES, and Famicom clone console.
Mm-hmm.
All of that runs through the RetroTink 4K's HDMI input. So I've got an HDMI switch that has all this stuff connected to it, and then that feeds the RetroTink. Well, the MiSTer, because it runs at like 720p normally or 1080p, I'm running that through there as well. Well, there was an audio issue identified trying to run the MiSTer via HDMI through the RetroTink 4K to where you would not get audio output. And so that was what I was running into. And I was trying to figure out how to solve it. Well, there's a fix that you can do with a MiSTer INI file. That is the basic configuration file for the MiSTer itself. I made the change that was recommended in the MiSTer Discord server, but for whatever reason, I still didn't get audio. And so Drake graciously agreed to get on a Discord call with me, and I shared my screen so that we could troubleshoot and walk through some stuff. And we walked through a whole bunch of stuff. We ended up somehow messing up my MiSTer INI file kind of bad. And so we actually used the MiSTer Companion. That's when he helped me set that up. Mm-hmm. We used the MiSTer Companion to reset the MiSTer INI to defaults. Then we made the one change that needed to be made. And then after doing all of that, we went in and found that after I booted my MiSTer, that it was muted. So it was a combination of things.
How do you mute the
user
MiSTer?
error?
Yeah.
Well, in the interface,
thing.
the on-screen display interface, you can mute the audio output.
Wow.
And so I must have inadvertently done that at some point, either during our troubleshooting or prior to that. I don't know. But anyway, It ended up being more than one thing. But yeah, now that we've got it solved, I'd get good audio. I was playing with it earlier, running a couple of games, and sounds great. So just something to be aware of if you are an enthusiast
A
and
dabbler.
you want to, a dabbler, and you want to set this stuff up the way that I do, where you're running the MiSTer over HDMI through a retro scaler. Just be aware that this is an issue you could run into, and there is a configuration change that has to be made on the MiSTer in order to accommodate for the appropriate audio signal to pass through the HDMI into the scaler.
And that program also helps you back up if you want. So you can back up your config.
Yes.
So it makes it really easy. Click of a button, it's backed up. Then you make your config change and you screw everything up. Well, you can hit restore.
Yep.
And it's back.
Oh, restore the INI file itself.
Yeah, yeah. You can do that for several of the different config files. I think, but mostly the MiSTer INI file.
Interesting.
Some of the other stuff. We even went into the Linux side, looking to make sure that the audio drivers were there and it didn't like blow out and like the audio chip was disconnected and stuff like that. Like it wasn't like, did the audio chip die and it's not getting anything or whatever? And we looked up and it's like, no, it's there, it sees it. And we tried some things. I was like, well, and then it was like, wait a minute. Did you check the volume on the OSD? It was one of those things. It was like, I don't know why. I completely forgot it was there, and I found it, and it's actually in, I think, the video I released last week, I think, or maybe it's the one that's coming up tomorrow. Occasionally, when I'm testing controllers and stuff and messing around with it, I will bump that, and I'll bump the global volume down like 1.
Yeah.
So I was aware that it existed, and I hit it occasionally, and I mess up, and then I don't notice, and I come back and I fix it later. But even I was aware of it, and I just completely didn't think it's one of those things where we just blanked on the obvious. It's just how many technicians does it take to screw in a light bulb kind of thing. It was great.
It's the most simplistic problem, and yet you think it's the most severe.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, and I always check stuff like, is it plugged in?
Through.
Because even I do that. It's not a you're stupid that you didn't plug it in. It's like, just double check, because maybe you thought it was plugged in, but it wasn't, or something.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how I would. It's happened to me more times than I'd like to admit. Let me just put it that way.
Occam's razor is always in effect.
Yes. Good explanation. Yeah. So, you want to see?
It happens to the best of us. It's all right. So we're over 2 hours now. I think.
Did you want to stop? Yeah.
I was gonna say, what if any downsides do you guys see from the MiSTer currently? Because I mean, it's always being worked on. And then what are some of the misconceptions that people have with the MiSTer when you talk to them or you hear them talking about it?
Well, one of the downsides kind of isn't anymore. It didn't do retro achievements. So if you were a person who was like retro achievements, you couldn't do those on the MiSTer. But now you can. I know you don't like them, but this is just for people who do. You can. It's not fully supported yet, but they're there if you want them. So that was one thing that's interesting.
And as we've kind of said, one of the downsides, other than the arcade cores, is you have to supply the games and even some of the BIOS files and other configuration stuff on your own.
Yeah.
Not everything, but there's enough that you have to supply on your own that if you have hard time finding some of this stuff, or you're a little less tech savvy, even with the MiSTer Companion, which does help quite a bit, there is still a little bit of a barrier to entry just from a technical standpoint. Now, obviously, with Drake and others who have made good tutorial videos on doing these things with the MiSTer, that definitely helps to lower the bar. But there is still some technical work that you'll have to do in order to get it running, unless you know someone who can do some of that for you. I did that for a friend here a few months ago, where he wanted to just have a basic setup to get started with the MiSTer. And so I created an SD card image for him that was already kind of set up, and then sent it to him so that he could write that to an SD card and then kind of hit the ground running. But short of something like that, it definitely has some quirks in that sense, where it does take a little bit of time and there is some effort required in order to get it going. It's not as plug and play as having the actual console or something like that.
It's still, I mean, the emulators are the same boat though, as far as having to get the for the most part, for having to get the setup files and such. So it's not,
Yeah.
I mean, like,
it's
I
not
think the big
any worse really than that.
the real big problem for me was the ROMs and the BIOS of setting it up, where to put the BIOS, and then, like, does the ROM have to be zipped? It was a lot of trial and error when it came to that.
Yeah.
And I had to do version control on my PC that I have hooked up to the MiSTer, because I would set up I would set up folders on a drive, and then basically, here's NES. Well, NES, here's like all the games for NES, and then I would basically say, okay, I'm going to test this game zipped, and I'm going to test it unzipped. Put it on there, see, did this work, did this not work, and stuff like that. It's like, for me, it was trial and error. One question you did mention, when I moved, I didn't have the MiSTer on for 3 months, and then when I moved and I connected it here and I ran update all, it took about 22 minutes.
Yeah.
If that's what you wanted, but it was well worth it.
Yes.
I sent Drake a message, because Drake and I always joke about, update all.
Yeah.
And he's like, wow, you really got a lot that you have to download. And I said, yeah, it's been several months since I've, done stuff. But really, the whole thing of, where to find the ROMs, the BIOSes, setting all that up, making sure it works and everything, that's the big learning curve that you have to get over with the MiSTer. But once you devote time to sitting there and getting the ROMs and doing all of this, it's well worth it. It's a sound device to have in an arsenal of, retro gear that you could play on.
Yeah, I had a lot of those sets already from like the Pi, Raspberry Pi, and things like that. So I would just copy them over. So for me, it was already had them. As far as the BIOSes, there's an option in update all, which maybe yours is turned off. You can go turn it on, and it says there's something about like BIOS database or something like that. It will grab all the BIOSes for you, with some exceptions, like Atari ST. It will not grab those.
For the Neo Geo to run, you need the BIOS for the Neo Geo, correct?
I think so. That was another one that I was glad to have update all for.
Yeah.
Because that one was tricky.
I have to go look at this when we get off.
And there's a specific set that you have to get. I don't remember the name off the top of my head. It's in my video on the Neo Geo. I do mention it somewhere near the beginning, I think. But if you guys want to watch the videos at 2x, 1.5x, whatever, that's fine. I do kind of ramble, so I don't mind.
I mean, I will be honest. My friend Gabe watched your videos, and you helped him set up the Amiga, do all of that, and like the Neo Geo and the Neo Geo CD. He was never. He's like, I'm not going to afford to buy the Neo Geo along with games. I don't want to do Neo Geo CD. And he's like, really, why am I going to buy a Jaguar when a Jaguar has an RF output, which was dumb. So he's like, I think the MiSTer would be best suited for that. And he plays Neo Geo. He plays
Yeah.
all those systems, all the old computer systems as well.
Oh, I
I
love
caught him. I caught him doing like a 5-hour stream or something of Oregon Trail, and I
Nice.
asked him if he was like okay, So,
Yeah.
but it's stuff that we like Math Munchers, but it's stuff like we grew up on playing,
Mm-hmm.
and it was awesome. Like I know this one kid that wants to do a at my work. He has a MiSTer, and he's very he's a mechanical engineer, and he
Mhm.
wants to do a breakout of the power glove with the sensors and wire that all into the MiSTer
Yeah.
and see like how what zones he can get
Mhm.
using the power glove, which is totally badass. I think that's great.
Yeah.
It's very like if you want to explore and have a lot of fun with trying inputs and stuff in the MiSTer, I
Mhm.
think it's great for that. There's so much compatibility with it.
Yeah,
when it
and
comes
there's
to that.
the other thing we haven't really touched on, the official MiSTer um repository that has most of the cores in it. There are a bunch of arcade cores usually that are with like I mentioned, the Hotego ones, and the coin up collection are separate, but the official MiSTer stuff is all open source. So if you are so inclined, you can tinker with it if you want and fix stuff.
Yeah.
And there is a core that I'm looking at. Well, I'll just say that much, a little teaser. I'm looking at a core. I did fix a couple things in it, so I'm gonna put in a pull request at some point for it to get updated. But I did fix some things, so I will put in a pull request at some point. I don't know when, because I want to fix a couple more things before I do that. But I was just so inclined. I was like, where do I get this? And I found the version of, like, it's called Quartus or something like that, that they use to compile the cores or build the cores. I don't know if it's technically compilation or building or whatever, you know. But it's basically like a compiler, and it builds it. And I have a nice machine that I can do that on, and that was really fun. I just started that like last week, I think, just messing around just to see, oh, if I change this bit, what does it do? And so that was really cool. I also
You
have
recompiled the cores?
yes, I compiled the core. I changed the core and fixed a problem with it because it has old the framework was like old design, and it didn't work. And there was a few things in it, because it was one of the first cores done. It was done, I think, in like 2017 or 2019 or something
Wow.
like that. It's a really old core, and it hasn't been touched. It's been touched to update the framework a few times, like the basic stuff, but not it hasn't been like looked at. It's not. It's for one of those old systems. And yeah, my video's not that. my video on it's coming out tomorrow on that system, but I don't mention anything about possibly working on it, because I was trying to record the video and work on it in the same time. And I got an interesting thing about the official cores. Some of the others are kind of beta, like this one, or maybe not beta, but they're in just because it's in the official repository doesn't mean it's like finished, and just because it's not doesn't mean it isn't good. So there's a lot of stuff that you can get outside of the MiSTer project that are MiSTer compatible things that you can get. And there's you can download those too, and if you want. And so there's more things available out there than just that.
Yeah.
And it's really easy. And so I encourage people, if you have a MiSTer and you want to see stuff that's on the edge, don't pester the developers, because it's work in progress, right? But if you find them, you can just copy the files onto your MiSTer, and it's really easy to do. Copy the files over and mess with it. Don't be intimidated. It's not that hard.
Yeah. And the MiSTer development is very important because it's supporting a wider range of platforms as well. Because, I'm sure you've heard of the Analog Pocket, for example.
Mhm.
That's an FPGA based system. A lot of MiSTer cores have been ported over to that using
That's right.
Open FPGA. And so I've loaded several cores that were originally MiSTer cores onto my Analog Pocket to play, so that, if I take that with me when I travel, then I can just boot up any of those
Yep.
cores and, mess around with stuff on the Analog Pocket. And that's all because of the development time that went into the original MiSTer core in order to make it for that platform. But then someone else, either the original core developer or someone else, then ported that over into the Open FPGA framework so that it would be more accessible elsewhere.
Now, the one thing I did want to mention too about that was that Neo Geo that's coming out. Drake said that Neo Geo is going to be what was it, running off of the MiSTer?
Yeah, actually, I think Hotego. I think it was the Hotego core. But
yeah, it's at least partially based on Hotego's work with
Yes.
FPGA core.
yes,
Now, it's not going to be an FPGA chip in the MiSTer. It
Right.
will be a static ASIC chip,
ASIC.
but the code on the ASIC is going to be at least partially based on MiSTer FPGA Neo Geo implementation.
Wow.
So you got the MiSTer to thank for that.
So technically you're going to be playing something that has MiSTer components. Or so
Well,
was that software or chipset?
It's gotta you gotta be able to get the ultimate shipped from Amazon. What I'm waiting
Yeah,
for.
you haven't put in for that, right? Yet.
Nope.
Yeah.
It'll
Yeah,
be
I pre-ordered the ultimate bundle directly from Plyon.
I just want to say
Yeah, same. Do you physically own a Neo Geo, Guru?
Just a Neo Geo CDZ, but I don't own an AES. I do have an MV1C arcade board, a 1-slot.
Oh, for the MVS?
Yeah, just a MV1C MVS board, but it's in need of a refresh. The battery came off, and so I need to solder on a new battery holder instead of just a battery. And then it probably needs a recap and it needs to be cleaned up. At some point I thought about consoleizing it.
Right.
I don't know. We'll see.
I was thinking about that too when you said it. I was like, maybe he's gonna consoleize it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go
ahead.
You were asking about, well, first of all, since you were talking about it, saying, I just have to say, I love the Power Glove. It's so bad.
It's so bad.
Somebody had to say it.
Yes, I appreciate. Yes.
You asking about misconceptions, Oaz, and I think it's your examples in the outline are good. I mean, is it just a Raspberry Pi? No, it's very different. Raspberry Pi is just a mini computer, and it's running in a Linux type environment, and you're basically just running software emulation on top of that.
RetroArch.
Whereas, as we've discussed, the FPGA implementation is different. Now, can you do software emulation on an FPGA? You absolutely can. And there's some of that being done right now. There's a early stage experimental Dreamcast core that someone is writing.
Yeah.
The number of gates in the DE10 Nano are not enough to do a full implementation of the Dreamcast hardware. But what someone is attempting to do is do a hybrid where there's an emulation layer of software, and then they're implementing the Dreamcast's graphics processor in FPGA. And so the core would be kind of a hybrid there, where it would be some software emulation, some hardware simulation, and then merging those into one.
Mhm.
But for the most part, FPGA is like running original hardware in many respects, as we've discussed, just as long as the writer of the core has good documentation on the original hardware and is able to implement that in a way that that the FPGA can be instructed to function that way. And so it software emulation can be very accurate. But
Yes,
the thing that makes software emulation harder is that different quirks may arise based on what hardware you're running it on, or what software, what operating system or operating environment it's running in. Whereas with FPGA, it's going to be the same operating environment because you're creating that operating environment within the gate array itself.
Yeah.
I never knew the Raspberry Pi ran the RetroArch.
Yeah,
That's
it's not all
interesting.
retro. I think it might be now, but when it was first, when I was messing around with it, because I was messing around with the Raspberry Pi 2 and then later a 3, I mean, I was compiling some of the. I actually compiled one of the emulators for it because it was out, but it wasn't compiled for the Raspberry Pi. It was for something else, whatever. And I just did it and I compiled it and I messed around with it. And I don't remember. I think it was a 7800 core or something like that. But I went to I did that. So some of the emulators were just like regular emulators, and this was when RetroArch was still pretty new, and so it didn't have it. RetroArch didn't have like cores added into it yet. It was still sort
Okay.
of absorbing. So RetroArch was doing a good chunk of the cores, and then other ones were just regular emulators, or standalone emulators, I should say. So there was that. Like the Amiga one, I don't think was in RetroArch, for example. There were a few like that. I think more and as it went along, more and more of them were in RetroArch. The Virtual Boy core for that is in RetroArch. It's under I think it's the Beetle emulator or whatever it's called.
Mm-hmm.
But it's that in RetroArch. It's basically RetroArch was just sort of a framework, and then they integrated existing emulators into it. Is what happened. It was a great idea. I just think the interface is horrible.
Yeah.
It is.
The
It's not
interface
user
It's
friendly.
it's not too bad. It wasn't too bad on the Pi because the Pi was designed and where one of the original interfaces was kind of drawn like I forget what they call it, but like the PlayStation 3, like the X, whatever, or the crossbar or whatever it's called.
Cross media bar.
Cross media bar. Thank you. It was like that. It was meant to be like that, and it worked fairly well, and with a controller and things like that. And as long as you weren't diving in too deep into them, it was okay. So it kind of had like a dual layer interface on that. And then I remember messing around with it on the I think it's Atari Lynx when I was messing around with that a lot too.
Lynx was interesting.
Yeah,
But I
in
mean,
RetroArch.
there's definitely the one thing that I have to say that Guru mentioned too was that a lot of stuff that's missed, like Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, people like, I mean, most people are going out and buying like a 3DS, and they're buying all the games for the 3DS and everything. Game Boy is over. Game Boy, people, unless you're specifically going to collect for Game Boy or have like some nostalgia for the games, that's definitely a strong point for the MiSTer. Pick up a full set for Game Boy, put it on the MiSTer, and just play, and it's awesome.
Mhm.
Game Boy Advance plays amazing on the MiSTer. I have played tons, and it has a gigantic library. I have played Golden Sun 1 and 2 on the MiSTer for Game Boy Advance. Phenomenal. And something I will throw this out there. I got disgusted with Vanguard bandits because there's no in between grind where you level up. So I use cheat codes, and you can very easily get the cheat codes,
Mhm.
the thing of cheat code, like the file of cheat codes, put
Mhm.
that in a cheat folder, cheat directory
Yes.
on the MiSTer, and then load the game, and it'll select the cheat codes for you, and then select whatever cheat code you want, and they automatically get loaded into the game.
Yeah.
And that was amazing. The way that was the easiest thing I've ever seen to
Yeah.
use. Phenomenal.
So
I
you're
forgot.
a
I
cheater.
forgot about that. The update all will download those for you, and you can turn them on and use them.
Really?
Yeah, it's only if the core has to support it, obviously, and then the game has to support it as well. Like they have to have codes for that game in the list. Basically, what it is it's a lot of them are they got from like Game Genies and things like that,
Yes.
and
Yes.
some of them are like just like pokes they figured out, which a poke is like you just stick a certain value into memory at a certain point, and things like that, depending on what system it's done for. That's one that's a little bit trickier to do. Like for example, for the ZX Spectrum, I did a little bit on it in my video where I talked about how do you put in a poke on the ZX Spectrum, like you can do really easily on an emulator. It's a little bit trickier on the MiSTer to do it, because it's wasn't designed for that. But there are ways, and I do show how to do it. That one's a little bit that's a disadvantage versus an emulator if you want to use that cheat codes for that system, but you can still do it. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that you can do. I remember we had one. I think my friend bought it. We had one for PC, and it was basically that, it wasn't like a separate Game Genie. It was like a program that you'd run, and it would do that. And it would find like that value where it stores like your lives and just keep it always at like max and things like that. And it was cheat codes for like DOS games.
That seems pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't even know. I mean, that was a long time ago. DOS games.
Because I was just thinking, how would you apply it to DOS games? I'm like, oh yeah, we
Yeah.
had one of those. Like maybe I'd get that program and then run it and then run the game. That would be neat.
Yeah, it's like a hex editor.
Yeah. Wow. That's back in the day.
Yeah.
But it had the cheat codes were already built in, so you could just pick it or whatever. And some of them were good and some of them were kind of flaky, but yeah, that's
So
basically
what do
what
you-
it does.
What do you think, Oaz?
I don't think there's a reason for me to rush out and get one.
Mhm.
But it is something that I will keep an eye out on.
Yeah.
See how it develops. But like just where I'm at in gaming, it's not for me at
Sure.
the moment.
Yeah, there are a lot of people that are like, it's not necessarily their thing. I mean, it's an entertainment thing, so it's got to be something that you want and you enjoy and you like. This is like there's nothing to me. Like if you don't get a MiSTer, that's nothing to me. Like I don't care. I mean, it's fun. It's nice if you do, because we could talk about MiSTer things and go, hey, have you tried this new thing or that new thing? But other than that, it's like it's like you don't have to like all the same movies I like. You know what I mean? It's fine. As far as that goes, it's for your entertainment. And if it doesn't entertain you in the way that you want it to do, and it doesn't work for you, then you shouldn't get it.
Yeah.
If that's the case, it's like the Polymega for saying it did not work for what he wanted, so he got rid of it. And then there's another guy, another streamer that we've seen on occasion. I can't remember his name. And he loves the Polymega, and he's got one, and he really likes it. So it's, to each his own as far as that goes, as far as what you like.
Exactly.
So
It's great
there's no wrong way to play. If you like
Yeah.
emulation, if you like the MiSTer, if you like the Raspberry Pi, not to be confused with the MiSTer Pi. If you like original hardware, I mean, nothing to be honest, I love the MiSTer hardware, but
Yeah.
I'm not gonna get original hardware for like 100 systems plus arcade
Yeah.
games.
Right.
You know
No,
what I
I
mean?
would agree with that.
Yeah. So that's again, that was the one thing. It's like, oh, what is this system do? None of the systems are great either, but it's neat. You can play these systems and see what they were like and get a little, I don't know, education, if you will.
Yeah.
Historical references and things like that. And as I've started to add those into my videos, like this is what the system looked like, because you probably haven't seen one of these before,
Right.
Especially
I
those
haven't
old
seen them before.
computers.
Some of the old computers, yeah. Like
Yeah.
I'm gonna go at someday. They just started making. I think they just started a Thomson one. Thomson computer was from France, so like no one here's had one. They were super popular in France, though. So there's those. There's a Sam Coupe, which I just learned about. I'm like, what's a Sam Coupe? So there are tons of old computers and systems that are like, wow, I didn't know they existed because it was only in Japan, or it was only some of those, like I was saying about the variants and stuff. Some of those you can do because like in the Soviet Union back in the day, they had to have they basically had like bootleg versions of stuff.
Yeah.
So they didn't have NES, they had Dendy. So that sort of thing. So you can play Dendy games, although mostly it was just NES games. But you could play it, because it was slightly different hardware. It can emulate those things. Not that it does necessarily everything ever, but it could.
Yeah.
And some of the systems maybe aren't supported because they're super rare or obscure, but they're the possibilities are there, and a lot of them they already do it, like Dendy, for example. I think there's a Dendy option in the NES core so that you can have the colors look like a Dendy or something like that.
But it's overall, I mean, it's not for everyone. Like what I was telling you when I went to last year to the Connecticut convention, they were selling MiSTers there, and they were all pre-built MiSTers. The card had update all on it. It was loaded with like just the arcade ROMs or whatever update all did for you. But they made a disclosure that we are not telling you where to get the ROMs, buy the ROMs, do anything like this. The folder structure's on there, and they gave you like how to use Wireshark or something to do the FTP transfer. That was it. But they were sold out by the end of the convention, Friday mid-afternoon, and people were buying MiSTers like crazy. One guy bought a MiSTer and he had a Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis in his hands, saran wrap like they sell at
at conventions.
Yeah, at conventions. And I looked, I'm like, but people are going to do that. They're not going to care. It's just something else that they could play off of, or play games that they've never experienced, that they've never experienced before.
Yep.
And it's a good way, to
Yeah.
play stuff like that on the MiSTer. So
yeah, like I'm not going to have an original ZX Spectrum because I don't have 50 hertz power and I don't have 240 volts to give it.
Well,
and I don't have a PAL TV.
you just buy a little fancy.
Yeah, I could get an adapter for it, but it's still the cycles are going to be wrong because it doesn't.
The PAL thing you can get over with a capture card.
I mean,
I have Brazilian systems and they run a PAL M, which is different than what Europe has.
Right.
And it handles it. Although it's funny because sometimes when I'm switching over to a game or something on those systems, it's black and white for a second, and then the capture card catches up and like, okay, now I can output this in color.
Right, because if you hook up a PAL to an NTSC, it'll be black and white because the color information is different or something. Yeah.
Yep.
But no, I just saw a video. I saw LGR's video on it, and he was like, just don't do it because this was years ago, so maybe easier now. But it was one of his older ones. He's like, yeah, don't. It's a great system. It's really cool, but don't do it because getting a 50 hertz TV and all that sort of stuff, and
Yeah.
But these days, it's probably, you're right. It is easier.
Yeah,
with
it's
the capture
easier.
cards. Yeah,
I mean, everything is so much more accessible now.
yeah,
I mean, we're all of this is like means and methods of playing games. That's it. There's so many options. There's so
Yeah.
many
That's
things
all
Yeah.
it is.
and yeah,
like I wouldn't say that I'll never get a MiSTer, because I could totally see myself getting a MiSTer and putting it downstairs, especially if it had if it worked with light gun games and having people over or having a buddy over and but hey,
Mhm.
let's go play House of the Dead 2 or
yeah.
just okay, let's go play Lethal Enforcers. I mean, that was a big one back in the
I
day.
believe
the
Lethal
Terminator
Enforcement
arcade
is on
game,
there. Yeah,
Yep.
Yeah.
getting all that. So, I'll probably keep an eye on prices and how well it works with the Sinden light gun, or if another light gun comes out.
yeah. Well, you can also look up the Gun for IR too. I think that's the one that Video Game Esoterica recommended. I would look at his stuff for that, just because that's some of the stuff I learned from other YouTubers. To be honest, I research stuff too, obviously.
Yeah.
Like online and on web pages and things like that too. It's just another place, another voice. But
Yep.
you can get a MiSTer a bit cheaper, and it's kind of like the one Saiyan has, where it's built in. There's a QM Tech version, which is kind of a knockoff, and it's you can get it at like AliExpress. I think it's like $150 or something like that. But it's like the Chinese knockoff one.
Yeah, I don't order from AliExpress, so
No, yes, I understand that.
I would avoid those sites.
I would too, but a lot of people have gotten them, and they do say they do work. Video Game Esoterica has done videos on them. He doesn't particularly recommend them because they're not as hardware compatible with some of the other MiSTer stuff.
Yeah.
So getting add-ons is tricky. But if you were interested in just getting the unit itself pre-built, and you were really hard up on for cash or something on the budget, it's an option.
Yeah.
I think there was a Ham Geek had them. They do like ham radio stuff, and I think they're Chinese based too. And they have those available. Taki Udon that does the Mr. Pie, I think he's in like Hong Kong. But I would trust him more than the QM Tech guys, because he's an enthusiast. But if you can get the full stack from him when he has them, I'm signed up for the list and I haven't heard anything lately. They're hard to get because he hasn't made big batches of them, but they're like 100, 150 something for like a complete, something like that. With a case, the USB board, the DE10 Nano equivalent, and a IO board, and the case, all that with it.
Yeah.
I think the only thing that you got to do is you got to supply your own power supply with his stuff. But it's it's good. Or if you just want to get the the one, he's got that DE10 Nano equivalent that should be compatible with all the other stuff from like MiSTer add-ons. I think it's MiSTeraddons.com. So you can mix and match with his. His is compatible, whereas the QM Tech one isn't.
Yeah.
But damn, I think this was like insanely informative. Yeah,
it is. It is information overload. It can be. We didn't even touch on the MT32.
I don't even know what that is.
We don't have to.
I have no idea what that is either.
No,
I don't know what that is, but that sounds complicated.
I got a video on it.
Everybody go to Drake. He has many videos.
It's in that list. I would say there's a really neat feature, and since it's getting late, I don't want to take up too much more of your time already, but there is the Genesis core or Mega Drive has this feature that does this like composite blurring thing, so it looks more like a CRT. Go check out my video on it because I do illustrate it there. and you can skip ahead to find it. But it looks awesome. Like the one thing that if you were back in the day and you remember like Sonic the Hedgehog,
Mm-hmm.
and he goes
The
like with the
waterfall.
waterfall, right? On any of the emulators on the modern systems, it's very stripy and it looks
Yep.
kind of ugly if you stared at it too long. This makes it blurry and it uses that whatever and it dithers it correctly or whatever it does it blurs it just like a CRT would, and it is an amazing effect and it looks great. I will caution you that not every Genesis / Mega Drive game benefits from this. Like for example, if you're playing Fatal Rewind, which is like Genesis version of the Killing Game Show for the Amiga, also available for the ST, but Amiga. And then there's some very small text on there, which it's better to have it clear. So you want the high resolution one on that, and there's not a lot of stuff that benefits from the blurring. So some games do, some games don't.
Yeah.
But definitely the Sonic one, it looks so nice.
What's going on, Rushmore? Kirk, how are
Hey.
you doing?
So
Kirk
yeah,
was at
thing-
SEGI or Southeast Game Exchange this last weekend.
Awesome.
Yeah, we're just wrapping up talking about the MiSTer.
Yeah.
It's an interesting device. I mean, there's so many possibilities, and I mean, something like that is going to be the future of retro gaming because the hardware is going to die.
Yeah.
The games are going to die.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, holding
Yeah.
on to the originals is not really preserving it. It's just delaying the inevitable. But
Yeah.
those who like the physical stuff, that's all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, I'm gonna get Eartheon, the Genesis. I mean, I plan on getting Eartheon, the Genesis cartridge. You know, I have it already. I can play it on my MiSTer, as I did, I think, on your stream.
Yes.
But I plan on getting the physical Genesis cart for it once it comes out. They're just having trouble making it because it's a large ROM, I guess. So it's harder to make. I don't know, because of because of what they don't make those chips as much anymore these days or something.
Right.
So they're trying to get it just right.
Yep.
So good for them. Good on them for doing that. But yeah, I mean, that's a physical Genesis cart that I'm gonna have, and will I use it a lot? Maybe, maybe not. But again, it's that physical thing of having it. That's nice.
Yeah. I think MiSTer is one of those things, like you say, it's the future of retro gaming because it's a platform that is extensible and can transition over to a newer FPGA hardware set. Some cores will have to be updated or what have you to work with the new hardware, but ultimately, whatever the successor of the DE10 Nano ends up becoming down the line, every single core that's running on the MiSTer today can potentially run on whatever the next FPGA board is that is going to become the new standard.
Yep.
And so it's the way to go for a lot of people. I mean, I think if you haven't already invested in hardware, this is a great option.
Right.
If you don't have room for hardware, this is a great option. Or there are some situations like, let's say you want to keep things clean so that you're not cluttering your living space with all of the hardware. That's a great option. For me, my living room is all insane like this, and I've got everything in here. My plan, once I get out of my apartment and into another house, is to have all the gaming set up kind of in one big area, but then I'm thinking about buying a second MiSTer so I can have one that's got all the bells and whistles, the analog IO board and all that other stuff
Mhm.
connected to the streaming setup. And then I'll take my OG MiSTer that I'm running now. That'll go on the living room TV
Mhm.
so that I can still fire up a quick game and spend, 10, 15 minutes on
Yeah.
something if that's all I've got. And then that can be something that, people come over and I can show them and, oh yeah, check this out. And we can, spend a few minutes playing something on the MiSTer. But then when I really want to dig in and get into all of that, then I go to my main gaming setup and I'm either firing up the OG hardware or I'm firing up the MiSTer or whatever. And then that's when I'm spending a lot of time with it, or when I'm doing the streaming and all of that. But yeah, I think MiSTer is great for dabblers and tinkerers. It's good
Mhm.
for enthusiasts who want a minimalist setup. It's good for people in general who want a minimalist setup. And it's a good entry point for just getting into retro gaming without having to drop loads of money on hardware and games. Because let's face it, that stuff is expensive now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Oh.
And like we've had conversations saying I have about the price of retro games going to go up. I was like, no. There's there'll be a slight bump, and the more I've talked and listened to people, I'm like, crud. I think Sayan's right, and not because Sayan's right, but because
Right.
that means it's going to be even more
Mhm.
costly for people to buy these games and be able to enjoy the physical aspect of it. But because there's stuff like the MiSTer and even just regular emulation.
No,
Yeah.
I think
Well-
stuff.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I mean, stuff is definitely going to go up. Retro is definitely going to go up
Mhm.
because now people are peed off with Sony, and they're annoyed
Yeah.
with Sony, and more generational stuff. Not to get into this, but more generational stuff like the Vita, the PS3, they have tanked miserably in prices.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Really quick.
Mm.
The MiSTer is an FPGA
Oh.
system, Kirk, that you need the ROMs or the ISO files to play the games. But because it's FPGA, it's going to be as close. Currently, it's the closest you can get to original hardware without original hardware.
So there's going to be this defiance of things, and this is what's going to happen. People are going to go to the MiSTer because they're tired of paying these high retro prices. They're tired of all this garbage. I have no idea what you just showed us, but that
D-dubs.
confused me.
So you must have missed this. Kirk said, "Oh, was retro games." Yeah.
Yeah.
Parts.
Yeah.
And so we were messing around with that this weekend.
No, but nobody wants to pay the money for
D-dubs.
this stuff. So no one wants to pay the money for retro.
No, that's not true.
I mean, but normal working people that have a mortgage and a house and everything else that aren't, want to refinance for Kikyo Flying Squadron. All right. I mean, you're not
care about Kikyo Flying Squadron.
I mean, there are people out there that do. I mean, he does.
I wish I could afford a copy.
Schmuck collectors kind of care about it.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, we're not gonna. I mean, for us to acquire a copy of that, I mean, it is absolutely over $2,000. So, what is the easiest way of doing it? It's playing it on the MiSTer.
Yeah.
Well, the easiest way is playing it on an emulator.
Yeah, but if you have if you're into retro and you don't want to have retro prices, you get the MiSTer and play on the MiSTer.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that's, again, I'm talking about there's so many different options. So
yeah.
Like Kirk is saying, he has a Raspberry Pi that has 30,000 games from the Atari to the PSP.
Yep.
Like there's so many different ways to play that. If it's all what do you want to play? How do you want to play it? How much do you want to spend?
Right.
Yeah.
You figure out the answer to those three, and then you go from your options being like this, then you're a little bit more focused on, okay, this is the route I'm going to take.
The only wrong way
Because-
is not to play.
Yeah.
Yep.
But, play how you want,
Yeah.
collect
Yeah,
what you
exactly.
want.
Yeah.
It's
I
Game
think
for
the
people.
MiSTer Multi-System has a Game Boy adapter. You can get to it and you can actually play like Game Boy physical cards.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
So it is possible, right? Like if you were like that engineer guy you were talking about, like he could probably build, an adapter, and then you could, you just get the cart connector, and you just plug the card into it, and then it would work because it would just feed into the GPIO pins or whatever. I don't know how to do that, but
yeah. Like 50,000 games up to the PS2. That's the thing. As more time goes on, there'll be more and more systems that are emulated on the MiSTer and on the other devices too.
Yeah.
The emulation devices, and so the quality and whatnot will change over time.
I just think it's a phenomenal. Like I said,
Like if I did not have hardware and
right.
all the physical games, I could totally see myself picking one up.
see, for me, it's bad because, like I told you, I played Night Raid and I fell in love with the game, and I actively went hunting for that game at conventions and found it and bought it. And I was not. That was because of the MiSTer. Playing it on the MiSTer, just being like, oh my god, this is an amazing shmup. I need this in my collection. And it was. But I use the MiSTer in unconventional ways where I play games and I'm like, oh my god, I need this in my collection. And I want to, go from there. Terra Cresta is one of the games on NES, and it is notoriously expensive. And I played it on the NES. And I was like, wow, this is a great game. I really enjoyed it. And it just, I don't know if it's Terra Cresta on PC Engine or if it's on the NES that's the most expensive. But it was one of those systems that I played it on, and I was like, wow, this is a great game. I would like to own it. And I normally test drive games on the MiSTer before I buy them, but when I look at the prices, I'm just like, wow, it's a lot of money.
It's crazy. I mean, let's see. I don't think that's unconventional. I think that's smart. I bought one of those NES style games that had 1,000 games on it or whatever years ago, and there was a couple games on the NES. I was like, oh, this is actually kind of neat. Unfortunately, it was Kickmaster and one other one. Both of them are fairly expensive. Like, well, I'm not going to buy them for that price. So, I think I put them on my NES Mini, but my NES Mini is sitting in a box.
It was
It's
I got a bunch
Terra
of mine.
Terra Cresta 2 on
PC Engine.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the one that's notoriously expensive.
Yeah, very bad.
And it's hard because Genesis and shmups, I need complete in box. It's just sick. So,
Yep.
it's just so
Just like
Mhm.
Kirk said right there.
Yep.
People still want the games and are willing to spend. He bought the Raspberry Pi. He just wanted to play the games, and that's the thing is, if you just want to play the games, there's so many great ways of doing it. Like
Right.
the MiSTer,
Right.
like the Raspberry Pis, or just whatever. And it's like, okay, well, how much do you want to spend?
Yeah.
it's true.
And that's like I said, like I'm trying to get out of being like, okay, I'm a collector. No, I'm a gamer. I'm not buying a bunch of stuff to just stick on a shelf.
You know what's crazy too? I've met people at the retro convention last year that I was talking to, and this sounded crazy to me, but they collect ROMs, and they have folders of ROMs on their computer, and they were carrying around a USB drive and stuff. And when people were playing Pokemon or whatever it is in there, they were like, I was sitting down with a bunch of people just on my analog, and they were like, hey, I got ROMs, and they were trading ROMs and ROM hacks. And yeah, I know, Guru, it's weird, really weird, but they were sitting down when, like, I was just talking to people about the Analog Pocket, and they were trading like ROM hacks, or hey, I have a translation patch for this game on, Super Famicom. I'll trade you this for some. It was weird, but yeah, there are people out there that collect ROMs, and that was all inspired. And I asked them, I'm like, why? Like, you can get ROMs from anywhere, and they're like, well, we have EverDrives, and they're like, we love to trade ROMs on the EverDrives, and
Huh.
I never would have believed it until I saw people trading the ROMs.
You see, those
And-
people will also like it's not okay. I've got this one game. It's there's revision A and B. There's this prototype that someone has dumped now. Like they
Yeah.
want all of those.
Yeah.
I would say those people are actually more of preserving it than most people who say that it's all about preservation. Most people say preservation, I think, is just bogus.
And there was a guy there.
As a buzzword.
He scared, like he had them. He was like, he went on archives, I guess, and was downloading manuals and had the manuals to the
Yes.
games and was giving it to them and was like, here, like I'll give you, like, oh, I have this set of manuals for PlayStation. Oh, okay, well then here's this, or you need a BIOS, let me set up Dolphin for you and optimize Dolphin on your your gaming laptop to run better with this ROM or that. It was
cool.
It was cool. Yeah, it was nice to see that.
I'd compare those people to the for classic Doctor Who. Like there are so many. There's several episodes that have been lost to time.
Yes,
but there's been episodes that have been recovered because people held on to VHS tapes, or sometimes they find the original some copy of a copy of a copy of a reel to reel or something that has some of those Doctor Who episodes. So some of those have been restored. But the people that collect everything with the ROMs, the thing is, they can say they collect physical too because they pull out their hard drive or they pull out their
right.
And I mean, all it is the difference is what kind of plastic or what kind of shell is it in.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's
actually
it's
now
cool.
the BBC does not.
No, the BBC does not have them all archived.
They have lost episodes, but again, this was all stuff that nobody thought people were going to care about.
Right.
And so there's weird people who like.
There's weird people who like Doctor Who. Oh wait, that's me.
Yeah, I like Doctor Who too. Well,
I know.
I like more of the modern up to Capaldi. Capaldi lost me. The writing got bad after when he started taking
I did not like the writing in his era that much. I thought his performances were great.
Yes, he was fine, which is why I kept watching. But eventually, got to the point where I was like, okay, I'm just done.
Yeah.
And some of the classic stuff that I've watched, I've enjoyed. But like there are people who actually want to preserve this stuff, and then there's people that say that they do, but all they mean is I want to be able to play the games.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Like Kirk says, I'm a collector, but for my nostalgia, not the collection of games I never had unless I wanted them. And my thing is, like, when you say that you're a collector, I think that now carries a connotation. You just buy stuff to buy stuff.
There's truth to that.
Yeah, most people that are collecting, there's like, oh, look, this stuff is cheap, so let me add it to the collection. And like the collection has no focus, it has no real meaning other than to amass. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not a collector anymore.
Guilty.
I do have a collection of games, and I'm working on refining that collection of games. But now, because with the possibility of prices going up, it's like, well, if I hold on to the some of this stuff for another 6 months or a year, will it go up and make a difference?
Well,
you're more interested in curation.
Yes, I'm curating my collection.
Yeah, than collecting.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, Guru, do you do the same?
Everything.
Do you do the same thing
games.
too? Sorry, do you do the same thing? Like, have you noticed, like, you collecting games is only a specific genre or like series of games, and
it's not a genre, but it's specific titles. Like, so because I started getting stuff for the Evercade, I picked up and I have collection number 1 for the Toplin arcade collection. So I'll have 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Nice.
Because there are fun shooters on here. I am not, and so Guru, you might get a laugh out of this. I love shooters. I absolutely suck at shooters, but because these are the arcade ROMs, I can sit there and add however many continues I want. I can
Yep.
play through the game, and
Yeah.
I can enjoy it. I
Yep.
don't have to worry about breaking the bank. I don't have to worry about, cracking open the piggy bank. I don't have to worry about, oh, well, I've only got 5 lives or whatever. There's some that I'll go back and play and try to get through with less lives.
Right.
I can, with Evercade, you can go in, you can go, okay, here, limit
Yeah.
the number of credits I can use. I might do that with some games one of these days, but it's great just to be able to play through the game and not have
Yep.
to worry about that.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
It's true.
So I've really enjoyed that, but it's like, okay, this so the IRM collection, I just picked it off of eBay. It has R-Type, In the Hunt, Battle Chopper, Moon Patrol. I really enjoyed on the C64. Okay, there's several games on here that I will play and that I know I will enjoy, and that's what I'm picking up stuff that I want to play.
Yeah.
Didn't we play In the Hunt, Guru?
Not
Yeah, that
yet.
sounds good.
No. Okay. No, I thought we played it at the arcade, but I could be wrong.
Oh. We might have. We might have played that
Yeah.
at Galloping Ghost.
I thought we did, but I could be confused.
We definitely
does
played.
happen.
We definitely played Darius and Darius too.
Yes, we did. That was awesome. That was so much fun.
I mean, really, the only thing you talk about curating collections. My collection's really curated to RPGs and shmups. That's it. That's all I look for now. And now we've even dropped. I think I have I have a lot of the RPGs I want. So now I'm just really going for the shmups.
Yeah,
It's funny, those two genres are almost at opposite ends of the spectrum too.
Well, playing. No, go
I've
ahead.
slowed way down on my collecting.
Yeah.
But I've said this before. I went through a tear from about 2007, 2008 until around 2019 or so. For a while there, I could walk into the pawn shop and I kid you not, I could walk out with between 10 and 40 or more
Yeah.
PlayStation 2, Xbox, Wii, PS3, 360 games. And so I've got a ton of games that I bought for pennies on the dollar. And I always look for the ones that are complete, or at least are the case with good insert, the instruction manual, and the disc or cartridge. And so the vast majority of the complete games in my collection are pawn shop, Goodwill, thrift store, yard sale games that I just picked up dirt cheap. So I mean, that's a lot of what I've got in my game room. Now, there's plenty of stuff in the game room that I bought purposely at a game store or at a Walmart or wherever that I knew I wanted this game to play at. I've got a bunch of collector editions and stuff like that I've got. You can see right over here on this shelf that is next to me behind the couch. I've got my my Sega Astro City Mini and stuff like that. I've got a collector's edition of a couple of Switch games, things like that. I've got a few fun items like that I've picked up. But yeah, I mean, a heavy percentage of my game collection is just stuff I picked up on the cheap because I could. The thrill of the hunt, as somebody said earlier. I get that from my grandpa, but I've slowed way down because you don't find those deals anymore.
Now I had to dump, what Rushmore said about, just the thrill of the hunt. I dumped last year 2 3DS systems, complete inbox, never opened, and a bunch of Pokemon games because I knew they were going to be hot stuff. And it was, I think, it was in the box without the manual, emerald green, and dropped all of that for a complete acrylic sealed Earthbound big box.
Wow.
And they said yes, and I almost fell to the floor because I've been after that thing for years, and I don't like the two systems are, and I knew they were going to sell the systems and the Pokemon games faster than asking like $2,600 for Earthbound. So my thing was, take OWAS's advice and hey, you could sell this stuff faster, and I could take your game that you've been sitting on for how long? 3 years, 4, 5, 6 years, and they did. They actually contacted me this past week through email and asked me if I had anything, if I was going to be bringing it to the Connecticut Retro Convention I'm going to, and I said yeah. I said I got a ton of stuff, and I started getting out old Pokemon games I'm not going to be playing to bring to them. It's just it's the thrill. You could find deals, I guess, still on eBay here and there of stuff, but I mean most things are like convention pricing and above.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah.
Is Ryzon EX over there, or
well, that's in the game room on the shelf of my Switch games.
That was such an awesome game.
Mhm.
Man, I still play that game to this day, but yeah, it's just finding shmups is harder and harder to just. I mean, on Switch, yes, you could definitely find.
You mean ones you don't have?
Yeah, no, please, I would go overboard
Because
with
you can
stuff.
go anywhere and you're gonna find
them a lot on the
that you want to play
Switch.
that have.
Yeah, but you're like, I found like I think it was Devil Engine. I think I found like 4 or 5 copies at a the convention I went to last year for the Switch. So I mean, Bat Sung was there for the Switch. The Switch has a lot of shooters on it. A lot. Like Espoluto 1 and 2 has a lot of, shooters on it. So you could always find stuff.
Yeah, there's always stuff to find. But the thing is, do you really want to spend your time and effort?
Yeah.
I love, Space, the Final Frontier, because the more stuff you buy, the more you realize it really is.
Yeah.
In your life, it takes up physical space. In your mind, it takes up mental space. If you're playing a game, you have all the space and inventory management you're doing, and we do that in real life when we collect,
Yep,
and whatnot.
Oh.
So it's, to me, it's funny and it's interesting. So I really love that, and because I like Star Trek, it goes well with it.
But yeah, we hit 12. We hit 12 already, almost 12:15.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we should.
So we can wrap it up. But
My
y'all
problem is I like movies and books and comics and and music and video games, so it's too much to collect all.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's true.
And like we're gonna use my refined, toned down version of collecting. So I collect games. I collect Masters of the Universe. I collect Lego. I collect the Motu bricks that they've released. I have a small comic book collection. It's only 2 boxes, about that big.
Yeah.
But then I've got baseball cards, and I stopped buying those. But when I was still buying them, I was like, I'm not going to buy packs or boxes of cards. I'm going to buy into breaks for the team that I want, which is the Oakland A's. And that was all I was getting. And then I was picking up any single cards that I wanted, if I could find them for a good price. But yeah, I collect so much different stuff, and it's like, okay, this is too much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So it's like, okay, now I'm trying to refine it down. But okay, what do I really want to have in my collection? What do I want to have out so that I can display and show other people, and not have an absolute one step away from being a hoarder's mess.
It's true.
Hey, the MiSTer in that regard would help with that, because you get rid of
Yes.
all the physical games and hardware and stuff, and then you won't have a wall like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that wall. I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
It's Sega through the ages,
I
and
forget
no
if
pun
it's-
intended, because when you mirror
Yeah.
Sega, it says ages. But
Yeah. I forget if it's your one of your guys' Genesis box, but I look at it and I always remember, because I think I had mine up on a shelf like that when I was like in high school or something. So
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah. But I don't know. I think we already did the final thoughts for MiSTer, and we kind of moved on.
yeah, we
collecting.
did, but there's always more. There's always more rabbit holes and things you can dig into.
Yep.
It's there. I got lots of videos on it. If you got questions, come over to my channel, ask me stuff on my YouTube. I don't mind. It's a public service I'm doing. You know,
The bill is in the mail.
yeah, for anyone that watches this, no, seriously, I like the system. I'm somewhat of an advocate for it just because I really enjoy it, and I think that other people will enjoy it too. It's not everyone, but and I like to help with that, and that's what I'm trying to do. And
but when you see the possibilities in something that you feel is good, I think it is easy to want to share that with others. And
yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm sharing it. That's a good way to put it. I'm sharing it with others, and it's not like
you're passionate.
You don't have to take either. You know, it's like, hey, do you want some of these brownies? You know, and you can say no. And that was not I didn't mean magic brownies.
Well,
It was not going there, but
special brownies.
yeah, but secret ingredient is love. But yeah, I like doing it. I was doing this video for the core, and I was just like, this is broken. How do I fix it? Oh, download the, I go download the compiler. I mess around with it. I'm like, I can actually compile this now. This is cool. I compiled it and it ran like first try, because I just used the existing core, right? So it's exactly the same thing as I'm running, but I just compiled the existing core and ran it, and I was like, okay, now I can mess with it. So it's so cool.
That's the thing. When you're enjoying something, you're having fun with it. Oftentimes, you want to be able to share that because of the except. Come here, Quizzy. Quizzical. Come here. Come here. Come here.
He was talking to his dog.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yep. I all I want to say is, Mr. Rules, go watch Drake's videos.
Yeah, I agree. That's it. Just watch Drake.
I mean, you
Drake
should watch
the
these other guys'
master.
videos too, because they're cool too. You know, don't sell yourself short. You know, you can see lots of schmuppage.
Aw.
Oh, see, he's sharing.
Now my dog ran. I don't know
Yeah.
where she is.
Well, she was here.
He doesn't want to jump up in my chair. But that's
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
Late.
the thing is, collect what you want, how you want, play what you want, how you want. My big thing is, don't go into debt for this stuff either. This is not necessary.
Yeah, that's true.
I think we all, or at times we might forget that when you go into debt for something, the actual cost of whatever it is you're getting can be much more than what you think you're actually paying.
Yeah.
And like, that's my little soapbox for that, but it's just, it's not worth it in my opinion.
Yeah.
But appreciate everyone coming and hanging out.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on and having everyone else on too.
Oh, thanks for both of you all coming. Y'all are welcome back anytime if you guys want to just hop on and chat about something. That's why Sane and I are pretty much doing this, is because would be talking on Discord and on the phone or whatever, and just like, we should record this and we should put it out there, because it's the same thing. We enjoy talking about it. Like, even though I don't have a MiSTer, I enjoy talking with you guys about it, because it's great to see somebody that has a passion for something.
Yeah, it's like, I like when you have your muscle guys, because I never collected them, but I remember them, and I love hearing about them.
Yeah, I need to do several videos about them.
Yeah.
I'll get around to it.
I like he had the big bag of them or whatever. That was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, we got a nice little
that's
thing
cool
right here. I really need to get a gumball machine so I can fill it up and fill it full of muscle men.
Oh yeah, classic.
Yep. Thanks for stopping in, Kirk. Have a good night.
Yeah, thanks.
Take care. Be safe. God bless. We'll catch you all later. And we're gonna end it the same way we always do. Keep it Sega.
Sega.
Or the Mister.